Good afternoon, Exiles. It is October 29th. We are on the very final day of races, and it is the wheel. It's making its epic return. Casting this event is the exquisite combo Cooters and Raise QT. Welcome back, guys.
Hey man, thanks so much.
Exquisite this time. I think we were lovely, and now we've been upgraded. Hopefully,
definitely every time.
All right. Okay, so for this event, as Havok mentioned, it is the wheel. It's going to be a Izaro kill. The participants are Heshla, EngineeringEternity, GhazzyTV, and Nugiyen. The rules are that every 7 minutes we will spin the wheel, and then whatever the wheel lands on, the players are going to have to use that ability. I believe after the 28th minute mark, we will be able to use level 12 ability. So there won't be any repeats this time when it comes to abilities, and every time players will have to use something new. And yeah, they get a little bit of a heads up because they're going to get a heads up every 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and they will have 30 seconds to prepare for the next ability that they're going to be forced into using.
Yeah, and we have more than double the amount of skills that we had last time, I believe. So
Right.
This is going to be kind of crazy. We have more level 1 skills as well as level 12s. So yeah, I'm super excited for this.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely a ton of new things. We can display the wheel. Just give us a second.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and do our initial spin. So let's see what everyone has to start out with. Is this something you think, Rise, that the initial spin is going to end up dictating what people go with ultimately, or do you think no one really cares too much and they just have a plan already in action?
I really don't know. The way you gotta approach this race is going to be so different based off of the player. We're gonna have to see what the players feel most comfortable with. Obviously, they all have access to a Tabula Rasa, which is the only Twink item that they have in their possession.
That's right. It looks like we landed on Spectral Throw for the initial skill, so that's interesting. Wow, Ghazzy, I believe, starting as Scion, so I mean, he pretty much has that in the bag, right?
Right. Well, here's a funny fact, actually. Starting off as a Scion is technically more optimal to not kill the first zombie and not pick up Spectral Throw because it actually deals less damage than auto-attacking. So
That's very true. That's a very odd thing.
it's pretty odd, but
I was gonna say Heshla is starting off with that with the old man Templar here. Do you think he's gonna go ahead and mule the flame totem? Is that something that we might see again in this race? Because the last person who did this won the whole thing, and I believe that was Rise.
I mean, that can be a possibility. There are limitations as to this race, so you can't fully utilize your utility skills, but definitely something that's going to be helping out. But they can't use a fire trap, so if you're muling, you got to sacrifice a bunch of time just to get that flame totem, which is pretty huge.
That is very true. I'm liking this. So we have 4 totally different classes on all the 4 starting players here. That's amazing. Usually we have, the duelist mule or something like that, but this time everyone, we have a shadow, we have a Templar, a Scion, and the duelist over here, and we are starting off.
All right, let's see what the players utilize here. Ghazzy, oh no, wait, to refresh my stuff here.
And I'm gonna have to think that Nugi here is gonna be doing some muling, possibly with the onslaught gem. I don't know though. I mean, everyone went last time. If you recall, the last time we did the wheel race, it was a little bit different, obviously, but everyone went shadow. So do you think that's gonna be something where for most people are doing shadow again, or do you think they're gonna kind of attack this at a different angle?
Honestly, that's kind of what I was anticipating. The thing is, elemental damage is so powerful and you can utilize it on any attack, right? If it's a bow ability, you can still deal LE damage. If it's any physical attack, yeah, you're going to be losing some damage compared to physical, but if you're picking up shadow notes, you're still going through all the elemental stuff. And, if you get a good roll on rings, that's going to be really great. And obviously the same goes for caster abilities since they're technically all elemental.
Yeah, Elemental definitely bridging the gap here with most of these skills. There are some pure physical damage skills, but of course they can add some supports to help them out when they scale
Right.
off of their elemental damage. Gazzy here logging out. He's laughing. I don't know what happened. He's in Act 2. I guess he's muling his stuff over here, so...
He forgot his tabula.
I forgot his tabula rasa. That is not gonna be a good thing with him. He has to move that tablet over, so that's gonna cost him quite a bit. He does seem to be having a fun time though, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, we're gonna see that. That definitely costs him quite a bit, honestly. Some of the players are already hitting the waypoint in the coast just now. We do see that Heshla is picking up the waypoint, and he is on a Templar. He is going for Tidal Island. Ooh, so maybe a Quicksilver Mule, or he's going to be sticking to the Templar. Honestly, if I had to choose the things that don't really limit the player too much, I would say Templar would be probably my second best choice for a race like this.
I really do think Heshla is going to go with the double Quicksilver here, as we saw a lot of players do in the last wheel race. We do have a poll here on who you guys think is going to win, and Nugiyen is killing it here with a 64% about chance to win that you guys think he's going to be number one. Heshla at 14.5, and then Engineering at 13, and Ghazzy, unfortunately, at 8.7, and you know that might be true just because of that miss mule, so to speak.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be pretty costly, but this is a Izaro kill, and with this interesting set of abilities, they're definitely going to take quite a while. So yeah, he might have lost a minute there, but I think in the long run won't hurt him too much. Heshla being the first one to actually fight Hellrake. Yeah, there's so many ads that utilizing that Spectral Throw is technically worth it, but he's still a Templar using Spectral Throw with a staff, or excuse me, a scepter. So not the best strategy. Actually dropped him low there.
Heshla going so low there. He went down to, I think, maybe single digits. It looked like around 10%, possibly sub 10%, but he does live through, and he does get that medicine chest. So he's going to pick up the Quicksilver, obviously, and I think he's going to mill it over. We'll see now, though.
Use vendoring items. I mean, this will be definitely interesting since, yeah, he has to still go back. And if he wants that flame totem, he's going to have to go to the next zone after Mudflats, which again costs a lot of time. I mean, the players are already at 4 minutes, so we're going to be looking at a skill swap pretty soon, around the time Heshla is going to be done, if he is actually potentially muling. Right,
but with the skill swap, I'm pretty sure Heshla is going to be happy. If he's going to switch to something like the Shadow, Spectral though, not going to be a good thing for him. I'm assuming they're going to hope for something like maybe a bow skill or possibly just a spell.
My goodness, poor Ghazzy fighting a big blue pack while another Harbinger pack approaches him, and all of this with Spectral Throw. Yeah, that's going to take a while to kill. He just simply abandons it, going for the optimal play here.
So the time difference here on how long these guys have to go through. Oh, Heshla going so
Heshla.
low again. He's so low, but he does live through. He does back off, hits his potions.
Like a boss, he keeps attacking.
Oh, he goes
but
even
it doesn't
lower
know
that
them.
time. Wow. And he hits the level. That's what I think he was hoping for, and he gets all of his flasks and life refill. So possibly calculated. I don't think he meant to go that low, but I think he was looking for that level gain to get the instant flask, or sorry, the instant life refill. But as I was saying, there was a 10-minute time difference between swapping skills last time in the wheel race. This time it's only 7 minutes, so it's about a 30% reduction in time on skill usage. Do you think that's going to really throw a kind of curveball for these guys?
I think that's definitely a pretty big curveball. I mean, if they're going into lab, if they're doing really anything, you know, some of these boss fights are just going to take that long, because getting transmutes and getting supports is going to be really tough, especially if we're thinking about all the abilities. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of mid-boss swapping, and this is definitely something that the players need to prepare prior to going into a boss fight. Also,
Right, it looks like
Nugi mule.
Yeah, Nugi did end up muling. I think he's going to pick the Shadow for long term here for the end game, possibly. Engineering, I've noticed the only one using an MTX, I think. So I know last time you said that the MTXs will slow you down, so maybe that's going to be kind of a handicap for him. And we are about to spin the next skill already. So I don't know. I mean, what do you think that most of these guys are looking for? What do you think their best outcome is for the second skill?
I think they're hoping for some sort of spell right now.
Possibly like a freezing pulse. You know, that's pretty cookie cutter for most players. Everyone knows how to do it with the shotgun damage and the pretty good AOE type of damage as well. And it ends up being cleave, but cleave
Wow.
being a great low level skill, and even in the mid game too. So I think most of these people are going to be maybe somewhat happy with this. I think Gaz will be fine. Heshla actually moving over to the shadow as well. So looks like we have a 2 shadow. Is it 3 shadow, or I don't remember what.
Yeah, it's Engineering
so
Eternity. It's also a shadow, but he decided not to mule. But yeah, the cleave is pretty good. I would definitely not be disappointed in the cleave. I think most players right now are really trying to fully utilize this pick and do as much with it as possible, because the next one definitely won't be nearly as good as this one.
Oh, Gazzy goes down for the first death out of everyone. That's going to hurt him so bad because he had that little stumble in the beginning, forgetting the mule's tabula rasa, and then goes down on the ledge here. God, you don't want to see that.
Yeah, and that's pretty massive too. He was trying to stun those mobs, but sadly without an iron ring and with weapons like these, he just got surrounded and died really, really fast. He also just run past the copper sword, so definitely something that he needs to focus a little bit more on. Something that is also very, very, very important for these players here is that they level their gems. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to level them in the tabula, but since you've got the most slots there, Gazzy dropping so low.
Gazzy is just living on the edge here. Hits that level finally to get that refill. But yeah, Gazzy is just going way out there. He is the dark horse according to the polls, and he is the only Scion. So a lot of uniqueness here coming from Gazzy. The only one death too, unfortunately for him.
Yeah. Technically, he has the highest amount of versatility, but so far it just hasn't been looking that great. If he doesn't pay attention to those weapons, it's going to be tough. He also needs to remember, again, all the players need to remember that. There you go. You see Heshla putting in his spell gems. While, your attack gems, it's not that big of a deal whether or not you have them equipped. When it comes to your spells, you really don't want to be using a level 1 spell on the next roll of the wheel.
That's definitely true. Look at Nugiyen here in engineering, both opting to put in most of their jewels into their tabula, or their gems, excuse me. Heshla, I believe he just probably put them in there. And I'm not sure why Gazzy, I don't see his items showing up from him. I'm assuming he has most of his stuff in his tabula, but he does have an onslaught tied to a spectral throw. I think that's because I haven't updated my items, so it's possible that he did swap it over to his tabula.
That is definitely a possibility, but I think, yeah, I really haven't seen Gazzy put... Oh my, Heshla dropping low again! Heshla, please. Hellrake, the run killer, the ultimate destroyer, technically the hardest boss in the entire game. He's definitely got the most kills out of anybody really in this entire game, so dropping low there but staying alive. Very well played.
Hellrake is definitely one of those guys you don't want to deal with at an early time. That's why a lot of people actually opt to go for the second waypoint before going back to battle out with Hellrake, because he is pretty scary.
That is definitely something a lot of players do, especially nowadays, now that you are level 2 once you get to town. So getting to level 3 with just a Hellrake kills is pretty tough. So if you want to check your vendors again for a possibility of some movement speed boots, yeah, you got to run past Mudflats, because you're not going back to town for a while after you've entered Submerged. Actually, the first player to be entering prison will be EngineeringEternity, who was I want to say the only player without the mule, but Gazzy fallen quite a bit behind with that little tabula mess up and the rip on ledge. He luckily didn't have to rerun so much, but that penalty is still there, so that's definitely going to be hurting him later on.
Yeah, and Heshla taking up those 2 Quicksilver pots like we had guessed before. He's only level 2 with that shadow, so he's way back there since he had to do quite a long trek just to get one of the flasks, as well as mule over. I'm assuming he got a flame totem. I don't see it, but I'm not sure what he picked up.
Would have to be level 4, yeah, to be able to equip the flame totem. So he's still gonna take a little bit. I'm not exact. I think I saw it. Yeah, I think I see the flame totem. Both the flame totem and the decoy. So we're gonna see what exactly he can utilize here. and whether or not this will actually be beneficial, considering that he has spent a significant amount of time trying to get this flame totem.
Yeah, as we saw last race in the wheel race, we did see 3 decoy totems and 1 flame totem. And like we were saying before, Rise the only one out of all 4 participants to opt for the flame totem, which actually ended up working really well. So it's not too surprising to see those 2 combinations.
Definitely. There are, again, a little bit stricter rules, so players will have to be they will definitely have to micromanage their inventory a lot better. Especially considering that they have to swap out their abilities so often. Heshla dropping a copper sword, that's gonna help him out a lot. You can see that Engineering Eternity is still on his starting weapon, so even though he does have that cleave, he can't really do that much damage with just 1 Iron Ring. And Ghazzy going for the trial. That's definitely something very important. The players are going for an Izaro kill, so they have to go through all the trials.
I would say the prison trial being actually pretty tricky here just because you have no movement skills, and if you don't avoid those spike traps, they really slow you down and can actually do a lot of burst damage if you get hit twice in a row.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even those lightning mobs, as Ghazzy is showing here, they can do a lot of damage. If you just gets hit 1 times too many, this will be a big problem. And since the players don't really have all that many support gems or weapons, because they have to prepare for all sorts of different things happening in the wheel.
We have Engineering Eternity first to hit Brutus here on this fight, and we're about to roll actually in the next skill in a little bit. So if you can take him down in time, Engineering Eternity will kind of maybe dodge a bullet here because Cleave is just so strong.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, he can maybe make it. We're just about to start rolling. We're gonna see what he's gonna land on. I think he's gonna have to swap out his abilities. I don't know. Mid Brutus? That's gonna be tricky. He is really the only one currently in peril. He can't get the same ability anymore. There's really not that much else he can get.
There's not. Engineering Eternity tried to dodge those ground slams. Brutus can do so much damage if you get stuck in a couple of hits or if you get crit. He's going back to town, getting a little bit of flash refill. I think it's one of those things where you're worried, but we get Magma Orb, that's right, on the roll there. So I don't know. Engineers. Oh, he's going back to the ledge. I'm not sure what's going on here. I didn't see what happened.
I'm not exactly sure either. Maybe he doesn't have weapons. I'm not. He killed 2 mobs, then run back. I think he was just waiting for the wheel because they do have those 30 seconds to prepare. So he's just trying to fully optimize everything that he could.
Swapping in that Magma Orb back on Brutus here. Let's see how this fares for him. It's going to be a lot tougher with Magma Orb over Cleave. So this is going to be quite the fight for him.
Especially since he only has fish scale gloves, no helmet, no boots. He has to use Magma Orb with, I believe, what is only Onslaught and no large potion. This will be a very tough fight. You can pull Brutus, I believe, to a point where you can hit him twice with the Magma Orb, but with his sort of gear, there is no way that he can hold him by the wall at all.
It's just interesting, one of these things with the wheel race, a lot of players are opting not to use some of these skills early on when they level up their characters normally without having to be forced to use the skills. So you're really going to see people here exploit their skill level or the mechanics on these skills if they've used them before. I feel like a lot of these other players maybe not sure how to use them in a very, very, utilize them in a very good way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a reason why the leveling meta is the way it is, and really, outside of the cleave, you don't really use any of the abilities. Even abilities that used to be quite decent, like Spark, nowadays are kind of a nuisance. You gotta spend the Wisdom Scroll. It doesn't really do more damage than Freeze Post. Actually, Freeze Post does do more damage unless we get a bounce there. Ooh, Engineering Eternity dropping low.
He should be able to take down this in a few more hits, and we'll be the first one to do that. So, but the thing is, a lot of people here, like Heshla, whatnot, gonna play a lot of catch up here because he has 2 Quicksilver Blasts. We saw Emil before, so that's why he is so far behind it for those who were just tuning in. Nugi here bound to make it into prison, so all these guys kind of bringing up the rear, but it's mainly due to the fact that they muled and Engineering opted not to.
Actually, what did Nugi end up going for? I do not see a Flame Totem in his inventory. Maybe he's already got it equipped, but it's not showing. He did go for a mule, right? But he doesn't have a second Quicksilver.
I think he started with the duelist to pick up possibly a decoy and onslaught. But you can
Right.
I guess you get onslaught on shadow. So, yeah, I believe he went to get the decoy. I think that's going to be
Right.
the big factor here. Decoy totem so strong against just really anything, but against single targets, being able to distract your enemy, put him in the corner, put him in a good spot to utilize your skills is very, very strong.
Yeah, but he's running into a little bit of a problem here because he does not have his decoy totem equipped at all. So decoy totem gets life with levels. It's pretty important that he starts leveling it up. Otherwise, he's going to be running into problems the same way Ghazzy is, who is now at Brutus with just Magma Orb equipped.
Yeah,
And I
Magma
also
Orb-
believe he wasn't leveling it, so it might be just low level.
Yeah, Magma Orb is just not something you normally want to use, especially against Brutus. You're going to have to get in fairly close to him, and those ground slams and those spikes are very scary.
Yeah, definitely so. Yeah, I mean, it's taking him a while, but he's got 2 small potions, which will allow him to regenerate over a long period of time, and he's got that burst large flask. That's definitely also going to help out. Guess he did take a little bit longer, but he did go through the trial. So he's already got that behind him, as does Heshla, who just now finished his trial, while Engineering Eternity is bursting through one of the best leveling zones in Act 1, which is the climb with an acceleration shrine.
That's right, Nugi also picking up that trial. So it looks like all of our players, except for, I believe, did Engineering, I don't know if he picked up the trial, but I think only 3 of them did. I didn't remember, or I didn't see if Engineering Eternity decided to pick up the trial in the prison. But we do have at least 3 of these guys picking it up.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing, definitely they're hoping for some movement speed boots, which none of the players have, I believe. Oh no, actually Nugi has
does.
movement speed boots, yeah. They have
Nugi
some
did
other...
pick up a pair.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to help him out a lot. So some of these players are definitely hoping, especially the ones who didn't get the second Quicksilver, that they will be dropping a second Quicksilver. They're going to get movement speed boots, and then later on, when they can deal with the mobs a lot better and move around a lot with a lot more ease while keeping up their Quicksilvers, they're going to be doing the trials then, and hopefully it's going to go a little bit faster than what they would do now.
You
Guys,
can
taking down
see-
Brutus.
Yeah, you can see just how hard it is using that Magma Orb at a low level to take down Brutus. It took him pretty much, like, I don't know, 3 minutes or so or more just to kill Brutus. As we see in the normal races, people taking down Brutus in just a few seconds. Or really, you know, 5-10 seconds or so. But with that Magma Orb, not knowing how to utilize it, not knowing how to exploit it really, and then just having a low level all around. And Ghazzy deciding to go back, I believe, to get the Quicksilver now.
Oh, that is a pretty interesting choice. So he hasn't done that before, and he's going for it now. I think he was just a little bit scared. He did have those little bit of a setback early on, so he wants to take the easy route and not be underleveled for Hellrick himself. But honestly, all things considered, if you look at Engineering Eternity, he's already in Cavern of Wrath, and it's only been 19 minutes and 30 seconds. This will be a pretty good Merveil time.
This will be really good for him. Nugi is about to jump into Brutus's lair very, very shortly here, and they're re-rolling a new skill. So that's going to actually help him most likely because Magma Orb, not the ideal skill to use here. So I believe we're going to see a roll, and hopefully it's going to end up working out well for Nugi here for that boss skill, as well as Heshla.
Oh yeah, it's still a minute until we change it, so I don't think Heshla is actually going to make it through the Brutus fight. Maybe, I don't believe so. And then Nugi going into it, he's either going to have to wait or change mid-fight too. We're going to have to see how far he's going to make it in.
And Heshla's going to probably have to change her because Magma Orb not doing a lot of damage as we saw before, but he is doing quite a bit of work here.
Actually, yeah.
And we end up rolling now, so if he can kill him in time, I think we're good. Let's see what we land on. Heshla, I think, in the clear. Nugi, though, going to be able to use that new skill, which is probably something that he wants to deal with.
Freeze Pulse.
Freezing Pulse. Very, very cookie cutter, like I said before. A lot of people know how to use that skill. Something that many people level up with when they first play the game. So I think Nugi, I'm not sure if he's actually happy about the one or not. It's fine. You got to get close, though, unfortunately. But he does have the decoy totem if he equips it. So he's going to be able to shotgun Brutus possibly from behind, which is going to really help him out.
Oh, and you can definitely see the difference because both Engineering Eternity were and Ghazzy were quite limited on sockets, while Heshla, you know, his freeze pulse is linked very, very well, and therefore his Brutus kill was a lot more clean and a lot faster too. And I think, all things considered, Nugi should be pretty happy. I mean, freeze pulse is the second best caster ability for Brutus killing, and really the only option that Shadow has, except Shadow can't get a
Ghazzy
decoy
goes so
totem, and he
low.
has one.
Ghazzy almost dying there again. He is just flirting with death time and time again, but does eke this one out. He did die once, and Nugi just destroys Brutus here so fast. But that freezing pole is doing a lot of work, like we said. Pretty easy. A lot of people know how to use it. And looking at these links here, I'm interested because of the fact that Nugi opting to use Arcane Surge. I think that's a great link for spells for sure. And I don't know if any of the other people are using that.
I don't believe so. I mean, Arcane Surge is great. Not only does it help out with the mana, but also if you keep it at a low level, it's literally a multiplier, and it's one of the earliest you can get in the entire game because it's going to proc every single time.
And Engineering starting on Merveil already. He's so far ahead. People taking out Brutus just now, like Nugi just did, but Engineering Eternity already on that second boss, the end game or end boss of Act 1. So let's see how well he can do with this freezing pulse.
That's pretty fast, all things considered. I mean, prior to Full of Oriath, around 22, 23 minute Merveil was still a pretty good run. So we're going to be looking at probably around 24 minutes for his skill. That's pretty good.
How many of these players do you think are looking at the timer, really keeping that in mind when they go in for a boss kill? Do they have time to switch their stuff out? Are they going to have to switch in the middle of the fight? Do you think anyone's really looking at that, or is it just more just play it by ear?
I think they're definitely paying attention to it, and every now and then they're going to make a decision that does put them a little bit behind technically, but it's in preparation for that wheel. Wow, Engineering Eternity logs out. I believe he ran out of mana. Just one small flask.
That is a lot.
Him in his inventory too.
That is a big problem that we see with the mana usage on Freezing Pulse, or just anything when you're linked with the Tabula Rasa. There's just so much mana multiplier going on there for such a low level. So not too surprising, but these players don't really want to use their Portal Scrolls because they have a limited supply. And Engineering getting a big ol' host there, 150.
Nice. Moses, a recent addition to the Path of Exile community. Definitely check out his stream. But he's rerunning the same instance, so he's not looking to get more XP here. He is level 10, so I think especially on a Shadow, he should be utilizing his Flame Dash already, which I don't really see from him. I don't know. This is going to be rough.
And it looks like these other players catching him now. Everyone here about to fight Merveil. They're in the cavern, so Engineering with that huge lead, but Nugi bring up the rear with Ghazzy and Heshla as well to follow. So I don't know about what Engineering's thinking at this point. I'm not sure if he knows where the other players are, but he was having such a good run here. Like we said, Nugi, just killing Brutus when Engineering started Merveil, but that log out really, really cost him some time.
Yeah, it's going to cost him a lot of time. And again, a lot of these players, it might seem like they're behind if you're looking at Nugi's screen or Heshla's screen, but they're catching up really fast because they put in the effort to be sure that they will be prepared not only for the early boss fights, but also for Izaro himself.
So out of these racers, we have seen Heshla and Ghazzy and Nugi actually. No, sorry, not Nugi, but Heshla and Ghazzy in the finale, season 1 finale, I believe. Was Ghazzy in that one? I'm not sure actually. No, Heshla was. So. He did. Yeah, okay, Heshla got into semis, so a really good performance by Heshla. So he's definitely one of these avid racers here. Ghazzy, I've seen him do some racing as well, and Nugi, but I don't know too much about Engineering. Do you know much about his racing?
Engineering has done racing. He definitely is very good at practicing. He actually used to have his guides are a little bit outdated with the Full of Oriath release, but for the most part, he had incredibly good layout guides, so he should be a layout expert here. Definitely something that you can learn from his YouTube channel. And yeah, it was a pretty swift decision on the logout with the Merveil kill, so I think he's got some experience, and I think the pace at which he's going so far has definitely shown so.
And looking at Heshla here, he's really utilizing all of his skills, hitting with the freezing pulse, hitting with the flame dash as well with that fire trail at the end, and then the flame totem adding on top of that, just utilizing everything that he has. Very, very good on him. Engineering Eternity, if you watch him using the flame totem and his freezing pulse, but not adding in that flame dash actually causes him a little bit of damage loss.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big deal. That flame dash, especially on a shadow, is going to be doing a lot of damage. Do you remember if Engineering Eternity also went for a mule?
I don't think he did. That's why he got so far ahead of everyone. He decided not to mule, I believe.
That's what I thought too. But he's got a decoy totem.
All right, then I guess he started. I don't remember what he started with. I thought he started as Shadow.
Yeah, me too. I think he just dropped it.
It's possible that it did drop from him, and that's crazy because that is the one thing he probably wanted.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything else, I would imagine so. But well, it's gonna be pretty tricky here. They have to deal with this fight pretty fast. Wait a minute, Heshla's in Act 2. Whoa!
Heshla killing Merveil really quickly. I did miss that as well. Concentrated so much on Nugiyen engineering here. Nugi about to start phase 2 of Merveil. We are going to be rolling now for the new skill swap, which is going to hurt possibly. It's probably not engineering, but he's on phase 2, so I think they're fine. I think the only person who's going to really be impacted by this is Ghazzy, but he's not on the fight right now, so not too bad. But this is the last and final roll of level 1 skill jumps. Next roll after this, we're going to be having a level 12 in the mix. So that's going to throw a lot of weird variables.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially since a lot of these players are going to be hitting level 12 very, very soon. It's Spark. Uh-oh.
I don't think that's something Ghazzy wants at all. Spark is such a hard skill to use against single targets. And Nugi and Engineering taking down Merveil, wiping their brow, saying, I don't have to deal with that Spark. I'm happy.
Here's the really big problem with Ghazzy. It doesn't seem like he's got a flame dash. So actually the swords in the Merveil fight, they are flying and they are not getting hit by the spark. So yeah, if you hit Merveil twice, you're doing more damage with the spark rather than the freeze balls. But unless he gets the flame dash, he's gonna have no way of dealing with the ads.
That's right.
They do a lot of damage.
This is going to be a hard fight for him for sure. Heshla showing his racing prowess here. We've seen him do racing earlier, just yesterday, actually, doing really well, like I said before, and he's just proving that point right now. In Act 2, in the lead, actually.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting Heshla to do extremely well here. I mean, Nugi still got a lot of space to catch up with that big mule. I mean, even if you think about it this way, if Heshla actually ended up not muling and he's been going and he just got a lucky decoy drop, you know, Nugi's still ahead and he actually spent those, 4+ minutes on getting that decoy.
Yeah, I'm looking at Nugi's stuff though. He has that Quicksilver like everyone else does, but look at this. He has a Surgeon's Bismuth Flask of Adrenaline, so he pretty much has, 1.5 Quicksilvers, and that Bismuth Flask, not to be kind of, I mean, I'm trying to say that it has a lot of weight here with the extra resistances for most fights. So I mean, it works on pretty much every boss.
I mean, even if you think about it, sure, you're getting rid of a potential life flask probably for the majority of these players here. I'm sure somebody who dropped this would maybe get rid of the mana potion too. But this is potentially a transmute, right? That bismuth, because usually you would be using a transmute on your Quicksilver, trying to get those resistances, trying to get some charges. But with this flask, you don't have to worry about that nearly as much. And for tougher boss fights, it will definitely be a lot of help. By the way, Ghazzy is in a bit of a pickle. Like mentioned before, he cannot use any ability than Spark, and those swords are just wailing at him.
You can see Ghazzy kind of laughing there, scratching his ear, thinking, oh man, this is not what I wanted. Definitely not something.
Yeah, he's running out of potions, both mana and life. He's definitely going to have to prepare here. He's looking to get a little bit more damage. He should be looking to get that Flame Dash so that he can deal with the ads.
Heshla here picking up that second trial, I believe. One of the easier trials with the spinning saw blades. Very, very easy to dodge. Actually, you can pretty much just run right through them. And they don't do much damage as long as you don't follow with them.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. That is something to take into account. Nugi's fighting a big shrine. I don't know if that's exactly worth it. We're gonna have to see what kind of strategy he's gonna go for here in terms of XP, because these players won't be, you know, a low level in Izaro, so they're trying to get as much XP as possible. But Act 2 can be pretty tricky when it comes to that. But for a race like this, I think you're looking to pick up those global damage increases as soon as possible, which in this case will be the Heralds.
And I think this just really shows that if the luck of the roll here, if it's not on your side and you haven't started a boss or killed a boss yet, and you get a bad single target damage roll, you're gonna get put really, really far behind. Ghazzy here struggling to kill Merveil, can't even get her that phase 2 yet with that spark, and it's one of those things where, you know, you don't want to get too far behind in any of these races. I mean, just from a, you know, a demoralization standpoint.
Right. I mean, he's honestly made a bunch of mistakes at this point. The Tabula fiasco in the start, you know, he had that one rip. Now he's using a Spark that doesn't have links. I believe for a while he wasn't leveling his caster gems either. All of this being a huge factor. I mean, I don't believe his Spark is leveled, honestly. Looking at the amount of damage he's throwing out here, even on a Scion, this should be just slightly better.
Yeah, and Heshla covering so much ground, rather. Wow, look at that. He picked up, I believe he picked up the trial, and now he's going over the kill Fidelitas. Engineering, though, very, very close behind.
Yeah, definitely. Something to keep in mind that, yeah, Engineering is very close behind, but he had that big fiasco. He ended up killing Merveil way after Heshla, and now he's catching up, despite the fact that Heshla does have 2 Quicksilvers. Actually, he's only using 1 now. So I believe he was either running into mana problems or he was preparing for Merveil and forgot to swap out. I'm not exactly understanding the 1 Quicksilver choice from him, since he committed so much time into trying to get that second Quicksilver.
It's one of those things where I'm not too sure why Ghazzy opted to use an unlinked Spark, unless that's something that we're not seeing correctly, because he does have the added lightning and cold damage on his freezing pulse. So I'm assuming he swapped that over, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that ended up. I think it's in his Tabula, but that doesn't... It looks like 2 green gems. Oh no, he does have a blue gem. It's 1 blue and 1 green, so I believe that's an Onslaught and the added lightning. What's going on with Heshla? Okay. He wasn't loading up. I don't know.
We're running into a little bit of problem there, but the game crashed and he ended up fixing that real quickly. So good on him.
Wait, but he was in the middle of something.
He was actually way down there. Did he not pick up the waypoint in level 2 by Fidelitas?
I mean, the waypoint is in level 1 now.
Rather, yeah.
So
he was in level 2.
That's a pretty big commitment.
That is a big time loss there. You never want to deal with that. Nugi picking up that trial in the Chamber of Sins is going to go ahead and take on Fidelitas, which Engineering, I believe, is about to work on as well.
All right, and we've got another roll coming up here. This one will be with level 12 skills, so definitely a huge amount of help for a lot of these players here. Ghazzy only being level 11, so he will first need to hit level 12, and then he's going to have to start using that ability. But I mean, any level 12 ability would be better than Spark, let's be honest.
Unfortunately for Ghazzy, we are getting a roll right now, so having to deal with that Spark against Merveil, and now he's going to end up changing that out. I mean, he probably would have wanted that a little bit early on. We have Fire Nova Mine.
That's pretty good.
Very, very good skill. We did see some racers. I believe there's a racer in one of the Izaro races in Season 1 that used it. Ended up winning the race with that Fire Nova Mine. Very good AoE clear. And not just AoE clear, but it actually does a lot of damage to single targets as well.
Yep. Definitely so. Nugi might be running in a little bit of a problem here, because he has to swap his gems around in about 10 seconds or so, and he's right on the Fidelitas fight, so he's gonna have to wait for a little bit, make sure he prepares properly, and then all the nice things are going to happen. I mean, for somebody who doesn't use Fire Nova Mine, it might be quite tricky to use because you have to kind of place it underneath yourself. But the great part about it is that normally you would be using Fire Nova Mine on a Shadow. A Shadow doesn't get any red gems, so it is incredibly difficult to get a +1 to Fire Gems weapon. But Fire Nova Mine is very good even without that. So these players, despite not really having any sort of gear that can help him out with the Fire Nova Mine, I think in terms of damage, this is the best skill you can use if you're not having any caster items.
Look at that damage from Fire Nova Mine coming up from Heshla and Nugi. Nugi actually having the Fidelitas fight with the Harbinger pack in there. I believe there's also a ghosted Fidelitas on someone else's on
Right.
possibly engineering side. So a lot of weird things being thrown in the mix here, but Fire Nova Mine being really strong.
You can see that both Nugiyen and Engineering Eternity just now key binding their detonate mines. I think they're really hoping that they're not going to get it here. And yeah, that's what I was talking about. This is going to be really, really tricky. People are not used to mines. It is a very good skill, but unless you're racing with a shadow, I mean, when really will you be using it?
Look at Engineering Eternity struggling with that ghosted Fidelitas. Sorry, we just have to like look at this here. He's going to be able to use that Fire Nova Mine pretty effectively, but if he gets hit too many times, just 2 times really, he probably is going to go down.
Oh yeah. I'm not exactly sure. I think that's a Warlord Ghost, because Fidelitas does have those endurance charges, so he's not going to be taking a whole lot of damage gains, a lot of resistances in life. This will be taking a while.
And those are just variables you have to deal with the racing and stuff. He has to go back to town, spend another TP portal. You never want to have to spend too many of those, since they are very, very scarce in the beginning. And he goes so low again. It's just one of those things. Ghosted anything is scary, so scary, especially on the bosses.
Yeah, but when you think about it, this is punishment from the gods, honestly, because yeah, Engineering Eternity got that huge drop on a shadow, dropping a decoy totem. That is really, really big. But since he has the Ghost of Fidelitas with that Warlord, every time Fidelitas hits his decoy totem, he is leeching life. So he has to not use the decoy to make sure that Fidelitas doesn't keep regaining his life. And he's just about to take it down. There you go. Ooh, he drops a brisk wrap. Oh my goodness, please.
Wow, that extra movement speed and all the other stats here are really good. But the thing is, they have the Tabula, so
yeah, but that if he can get a +1, that can be so incredibly helpful, honestly. Even swapping it around in town, de-equipping that Tabula, it can save you a bunch of time.
That's very true. Actually, swapping out the Tabula, not something we've seen yet, but maybe this one time we might actually see that. Ghazzy doing a lot of work here on the bottom left, catching up a little bit. And I did see him throw out his gems, so he knows, hey, once the skill's been used or rolled on, we don't use it anymore. So making use of extra inventory space by doing so.
Definitely. So we've got Nugi heading over to Weaver. He is very, very close. Gonna have to see how this ends up.
I think he's going to make quick work of her with that Fire Nova Mine. Doesn't prime the TP portal or the portal scroll, as we saw with Dead and Doom on the last Season 1 finale race. He does get hit a little bit, chunked here and there, but he knows how much damage he can take. Only has 1 health pot, and he's just sitting there. He knows that he has this one in the bag.
Yeah, but that mana management, this is quite difficult for all of these players here. It is a lot they have to manage.
He does go back with the portal, though, so it looks like he knew that it was going to get a little bit too tough there. Takes the portal back just to be safe, which is a good move there. And a lot of players, I feel, sometimes showing a little bit too much stubbornness, not going back to town, not getting the flash refill, not getting the life refill. Sometimes it's just the better thing to do. Engineering, picking up an acceleration shrine as well as he fights Crichton right here.
Yeah, a lot of these players are going to be looking to start preparing maybe for the next swap. I don't know if they want to let go of that Fire Nova Mine.
Fire Nova Mine just so strong as everyone is using elemental damage, so it's going to be quite a weird change. We did see Cleave rather in the beginning. We haven't seen a single bow skill yet, so that's going to be interesting if that one ends up being the next role.
Oh yeah, bow skill would actually be pretty massive. I think a lot of these players don't even own a bow at this point. Especially since bows are so link dependent. I mean, we could possibly have an ice shot. Oh no, excuse me. These are going to be level 12 gems at this point. So we're going to be looking at lightning arrow, which definitely needs a 3-link. So if you want to get that LMP, you're going to have to get a transmute. It's gonna be tough. No Rain of Arrow. Oh no, there is a Rain of Arrows too. So something that would be a Bosco, but a little bit better than that Lightning.
Heshla now about to kill Crichton, and Nugi opting to go down for that third trial. I actually like this move. When I was doing the racing stuff, I felt like you can gain quite a bit of experience here, pick that up along the way instead of doing it later on when you're in Act 3. I don't know. How do you feel about this?
I think that is the correct call. As long as you've got the levels and he is level 16, he should be just about fine for running that right now. And I mean, it's not like you're getting penalized at any point, so getting this experience is probably going to help him out when dealing with a lot of the bosses of Act 2.
And we're rolling now again for another skill swap. I believe this is the level 12 skills being added in here, so that's going to have a lot more possibilities. And Ghazzy here about to fight the Weaver, so that might be a problem for him if he's really settling on that Fire Nova Mine.
I think he's still going to take a little bit to get there. And we've got
we get
Molten Strike.
So good for that single target. We've seen it used many times. Ziz loving that skill on single targets. We've seen him just tear down bosses with it, and I think Ghazzy's gonna like this one if he has the weapon for it, though.
Yeah, that's the sort of skill that you might possibly want later on in something like the Izaro fight. Again, they won't be able to use any of the abilities again, so we definitely won't be seeing any Molten Strike on Izaro. Ghazzy logs out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened here. He was on the Weaver. I don't know if he felt like he was in a bad spot, possibly. Not too sure.
I think he simply didn't have weapons and didn't have a portal scroll, so...
Oh,
he actually doesn't even have a Molten Strike.
Doesn't have the
Ghazzy coming a little bit unprepared here.
Yeah, Ghazzy showing that unpreparedness here with the Tabula, not having the Tabula in the beginning and then now not having the Molten Strike, just really costing him a few seconds here and there, but they really add up in the end.
Yeah, for sure. Those seconds are everything that racing is all about. We've got Heshla with a bad layout, but he's pretty happy. I mean, honestly, the Molten Strike is helping out everybody since players are heading, for the trials, for the bandits, doing the lab. As long as they can get that good single target with a decent weapon, their damage should be pretty alright.
Well, in terms of these bandits, since it is an Izaro race, a lot of people we see deciding to take the 2 extra skill points. Do you think there is a bandit that might be worth taking over the 2 skill points in this kind of race?
Not necessarily. I mean, yeah, I don't exactly know what Izaro has for his buffs, but I think the 2 skill points are most useful. Maybe because the fights take so long in the Izaro fight, you might be wanting to pick up a Lyra, but we're really gonna have to wait and see what sort of abilities we end up till the end.
Lyra giving you not only the 5 mana per second regen, I believe she also gives you 15% to all resists. That's a big thing, especially in these low-level fights. And then I think Crichton, not a bad choice, maybe with the movement speed as well as attack and cast speed. A lot of stuff going on there, but usually that 2 skill points will let you reach out farther, get the stat points that you need to allow you to level up these skills because there's so many of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, at this point, there's so many caster abilities. And I mean, if you end up with something like Firestorm as the level 12 ability, a lot of these players are unable to buy it. So if they're not leveling their gem, it's going to be level 1. And if you're fighting Izaro and you're a Shadow and you need a Firestorm, yeah. Fighting Izaro with a level 1 Firestorm, possibly at level 24 in a Shadow, is not the thing that you want to be looking at.
Yeah, leveling gems, something that's so strong here, just because usually the levels will give you a lot of damage increase. So you want to be able to maintain your stats at a high level, and not just the level of your skills, but also use better weapons as you progress through these acts. Using the bows, it takes a lot of dex. If you opt to go with wands, which a lot of people don't seem to do as much, but those can use a lot of int, as well as the weapons, of course, using strength.
Definitely so. And yeah, I mean, utilizing your offhands is very important. That allows you to micromanage your inventory a lot better, allows you to level up more gems. But then what are you putting in your offhand? Are you putting in a wand, trying to get those caster abilities? Wands don't really take up that much space. Maybe you want to put a bow in there instead, but a bow needs to have a good roll, so you're constantly looking through new bows. Guess what? You find a good one, you don't have enough dexterity. This is a constant struggle for all of these players right now. definitely a lot to think about. I think every time they swap around a skill, they're just constantly thinking, all right, how can I prepare myself right now so that in those 30 seconds at which they're waiting to swap out to their next ability, they can be, swapping out as fast as possible. Ghazzy dropping low. Ghazzy,
ripping there to the
he,
Weaver.
he,
Wow, that
he
is
was just face tanking.
2 deaths for Ghazzy. That's nothing. That's always something you don't want to see, especially if you're rooting for Ghazzy here. You
Yeah,
can
he's
tell the
definitely
look on
pretty
his
far behind.
face. He's just not too happy about that. I mean, I don't know why you would be, but he just looks so disappointed. Oh, Ghazzy's at 4 to 5 deaths. Sorry, I didn't realize that he died so many times.
Wow. Okay, yeah, Ghazzy's been going down a lot.
I
mean,
guess
he
I
was
missed
shaking
a
his
lot
head.
of those deaths. Yeah.
Yeah, he was face tanking Weaver. I think at this point he is very, very tilted. He's at 4 deaths, and yeah, the way he was shaking his head and just face tanking, not utilizing those movement skills, not moving at all. I think he's mad. I think he's mad, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where I was talking about the demoralization, stuff just feeling bad. It's something really hard to overcome, especially in a race like this. You're only in Act 2, you're about halfway there, and you've already had so many mishaps. You already messed up on the Tabula, you messed up on the Molten Strike. Now you have those extra deaths under your belt, and it's just gonna really weigh you down.
Yeah, but I mean, in a race like this, it might seem like he's really far behind, and that has been definitely taking a lot out of him. But we've seen plenty of situations where players got to the lab and they were simply unable to kill Izaro. No matter what, it was just way too difficult, and that gives players like Ghazzy an opportunity to definitely catch up.
Oh, and he's just blowing out the smoke there. He is so mad. He's emitting steam. Did you
It's
see
coming
that?
out of his ears.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's.
god, he's like a runaway freight train right now, Ghazzy.
Well, Engineering Eternity, on the other hand, does take down Weaver with quite a bit of ease. So he's looking pretty good right here.
And Nugi here, just pretty much slow and steady. I mean, he's been catching up quite a bit, and he does get the little cone there to get the 2 skill points. So he's going to be able to pick those up with
I
the
don't think
Lyra.
Ghazzy had crossroads either. Oh my goodness. Just everything going wrong. But we've got another roll. We're going to have to wait and see what the players are going to have to adapt to. I think currently Engineering Eternity being in the biggest peril, I want to say, because he is running to Oak and he's not going to make it. YOLO opens a box, makes it through. Yeah, but he's going to have to wait now. Even if he deals with this box fast, on the weapon swap, he still has 30 seconds that he won't be able to use another one. Rain of arrows. Wow.
Well, we
Okay, this
do
is
get a bow skill. And Rain of
Yeah.
Arrows, though, a really strong one. Especially if they have the Dex user, and they should, being Shadow for most of these players. And Rain of Arrows is just something that a lot of people use, not only for the AoE clear, but the single target, not too bad as well.
Yeah, but you can see there. You could definitely see a reaction from all of them at the same time. Heshla, a little bit of a smirk. Engineering Eternity, a big smile. Ghazzy, full panic, and you can even see now that he is panicking. And Nugi, no reaction whatsoever. He knows how to utilize those bow skills. He was prepared for the bow ability. He's had a bow this whole time. He is ready to go. This is what he was hoping for. Well, the other
Nugi
players are just confused. They just don't know.
Nugi nerves the steel for sure with that face of determination. He's always one of those guys who doesn't show much emotion while racing. I mean, he does, when his chat is with the subs and the follows and everything like that. But when it comes to the racing and to the game, he's stone cold.
Oh yeah, everybody buying a bow. Ghazzy just panicking. He does not have a bow. He can't use a different ability. He has no. What does he do? He does not have a bow. He has to go back to Act 1 and hopefully manage to buy a bow for 1 or 2 wisdom scrolls, because he has nothing no matter what. Is he just gonna stand in town? He hasn't prepared for this whatsoever.
He is
has to
definitely
auto-attack.
not prepared. I mean, that's something that's really pretty much the theme of the race for Ghazzy here. Unprepared. I guess he's gonna have to go and try to find something. I don't know. He can't sit this one out for 6 minutes. I know he's so far behind, but it's just not worth it now. So I think, I don't know, he's gonna opt to just auto attack and beat some guys down.
He has to auto attack. I mean, he doesn't have a choice. He logs out here. full-blown panic. This is what I was talking about. Putting that offhand bow would save you a lot of inventory space and would make things a lot easier. I mean, if you don't have any wands and you're running around axing away with your spark, that's not a big deal. But if you don't have a bow, you're yeah. That is a problem.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where Ghazzy can't figure out what to do. So I don't know what he's gonna do. He's just going through his items, and no matter how many times he mouses over these items, he's not gonna be able to buy them. They're not just gonna magically appear. So I don't know. I'm not sure why he's standing in town. I think he's just at a loss for what to do next.
Wait a minute. Does he have a bow?
So he ends up regretting, or sorry, using a passive refund there to get the dex node because he didn't have enough dex to use anything, and then he's laughing because he doesn't have enough to use the bow in his inventory. I believe he's
missing
one off.
8.
He's 8 off.
30.
And he can't buy. He's been trying to look at the Jade amulet. He couldn't pick that up because he doesn't have the necessary requirements to buy that. He can't even buy anything else, and he's just laughing. What do you do in this position?
He has to start out attacking. I don't know. Go for some Diablo 3 style crate runs. Open some chests, Ghazzy. You gotta start thinking on your feet here.
He can always restart with a ranger and mill that over to get the beginning bow. That's something that he always has. It's free.
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely something that he could be potentially utilizing here. I think somebody should maybe drop him the news. Drop him the cooter strats. Maybe he can ask one of the other players.
He does opt to go back.
It in his face.
He does opt to go back to the mud flats to try to. I don't know. Is he maybe looking for? Oh, he's going to get the regret point or the refund point here at the fetid pool.
Right.
Not the best thing to do at all. I'd rather see him just start a new ranger and mule the bow over. Excuse me. This takes way too long. This is just not worth the refund. I mean, there's another thing too where he could end up picking up the trial in Act 2 where you can go down to level 2 if you wanted to pick up the refund there. I think that would be more streamlined with this whole idea here, but this fetid pool strat, not the right one.
I mean, it's gonna do something, but honestly, by the time he finishes clearing this fetid pool with his auto attack, I think we're gonna have another roll. Yeah, he logs out. He doesn't like this. He might just... I'm not exactly sure if he's done the crit, but he has the crossroads waypoint. Come on, Ghazzy, you got the crossroads waypoint. You can just run to the crypt. You're gonna have to make it over there for the trial anyway. This is tough.
I mean,
while the other players are blasting away with their Reign of Hours, Nugi definitely focusing on fully utilizing his ranger place here and putting as much work as he possibly can with that bow that he was prepared to equip. I mean, he has I think that's a short bow, and it's just working out.
Yeah, Heshla and Nugi both leading the race here. Engineering a little bit farther behind. He did fall back after that logout against Merveil, and ever since then, he just hasn't been able to catch back up. We're going to, and there is going to be a roll in a minute here, so I mean, Nugi not going to be able to fight Vaal here with the Raid of Arrows. I'm not sure. I think he would rather have that because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, Ghazzy, now looking at the timer here, there's only 60 seconds till the next roll, and
I think it's going to take him. I think it's going to take him 60 seconds just to mule this bow over, pretty much.
It takes about 90 seconds to mule it. Yeah. So this is Ghazzy definitely put himself in a very, very, very bad position here. Nothing much he could do at this point.
I'm just really curious if Ghazzy. I don't think he's looking at the timer. He's gonna have to go again with one of those face palms here. What's gonna happen is he's gonna kill Hillock, and then he's gonna end up noticing, oh, there's a skill swap. So
yeah, but what if there's another bow ability? He can make it to town in time. That's for sure.
For Ghazzy's sake, I hope it's a bow skill, but for anyone else's sake, I hope it's not. So, and we are rolling right now, so we're gonna get a new skill in the next 5 to 10 seconds. Like I said, if you're rooting for Ghazzy, we want to see another bow skill. But if you guys in chat want to see something funny, I guess we know we don't want to see that. But Ghazzy about to mill over the bow, so not bad at all. He does get the word, I believe, that they're going to be changing skills. You can kind of see him shrugging it off. Not sure what to do.
Did he just drop a rare short bow? Oh my god, Ghazzy. I don't think so. I mean, it must have been accrued. Lightning strike.
Lightning strike. Oh, just a really weird skill here. Don't use that. Many players not even ever using that for any build. I mean, I've used it before at high-end builds, and it's a fun skill to use. But I mean, using this right now, I just don't think it's, it's something they want to do. But Nugi getting his weapons in real quick, swapping over so quickly here. Nugi just really showing how prepared he is. He's swapping all of his weapons out, swapping all of his links out, and streamlined with starting the Vaal fight, because Vaal does take a good 5+ seconds to actually summon, so he's utilizing that time here really, really well.
Yeah, and that's the really good news for these players, right? That both Nugi and Heshla are really neck and neck with Engineering Eternity, not far behind, but nobody really wants to be killing Vaal with Lightning Strike. He does have pretty good weapons from what I'm seeing here, though. Yeah, he has a flat physical cleaver and also a broad axe.
Yeah, that cleaver has pretty good physical damage. Of course, not as great, but not any elemental damage. But he does have those passives doing a lot of work. He's doing a lot of damage, though. Look at this. He almost has a Vaal down to about 60% or so.
That's actually that's surprisingly good. I mean, Nugi's preparation for this, that he was picking up those bases. He does have that broadsword, he does have that cleaver, which are the highest bases that he could possibly have. He is level 21 on Vaal, which is 1 level higher than what you would usually have. So he really timed this out perfectly, and everything just came out great.
Killing Vaal in 3, I guess, phases or so, whatever you want to call it. But wow, Vaal only submerged twice. That's really, really fast, especially with using Lightning Strike, not something people usually end up using. Just not a great skill in general compared to the other things you can use, like Cleave or Molten Strike or Sunder. But of course, with the wheel choosing their fate here, Nugi making quick work of him. Very, very impressive.
Nugi leaving the two-handed sword on the ground. I don't know. You might want to be picking that up because unlike Sunder and a lot of the overpowered, so to say, melee abilities, Lightning Strike, I'm pretty sure, rotates your weapons. So it is very important that you either use a very powerful two-hander or you've got 2 very good one-handers. In the case of Heshla, he's got a white whatever sword, and it is not doing that much at all.
He does have this superior two-handed sword, not going to be doing much at all, as you can tell, compared to Nugi, struggling with the damages against Vaal. Kind of funny how he told his chat just going to be good before he starts Vaal, so I'm pretty sure he was predicting that this fight wasn't going to be the best one for him.
Yeah, it's definitely going to take a while. Nugi was looking a lot fresher in this fight, I want to say.
Nugi, though, just sitting there calm as ever. Like we said before, the nerves of steel. I think he's feeling good about this run so far. 0 deaths for, I believe, everyone else except for Ghazzy here, struggling with around 4 or so deaths. So,
yeah,
Ghazzy,
I don't think we had any rips on the other players, right?
No, we did not at all.
Getting close a couple times, but not close enough for Ghazzy's sake.
Yeah, and Heshla and Nugi really the only two that are real close to each other, as Engineering Eternity is in the caverns, though, about to make it up the pyramid. Ghazzy is so far behind, unfortunately.
Yeah, Ghazzy, honestly, at this point, considering the race lasts 2 hours, I don't think he's going to make it. Unless some things start happening here and he picks up the pace, similar to the other players, it is going to be very hard for him to finish this race.
Yeah, but he is still putting on a show. You have to admire his perseverance here. I know he's pretty much, I can tell from his expressions, most likely kind of calling it, but still hanging in there, trying to do everything he can. Does mule the blow over, does refund some passives. So he's definitely trying to think of things to do, but I think he's pretty much counted himself out of this one.
I mean, but this is what I like to see, right? Rather than just quitting like a lot of other players would. Sure, it's frustrating. You can see that he's a little bit mad, bro, but he keeps playing. He keeps trying to pull through, possibly hoping to finish this race here, and I think that's quite admirable and deserves a couple clappers in the chat.
Yeah, Ghazzy showing that perseverance, still hanging in there, decides to continue with this race. I do like to see that, and he seems like he's kind of enjoying it. I'm sure he's frustrated, but he does kind of show that he's having a fun time. I'm sure his chat's having a fun time with him.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think so too. I mean, this is what streaming is all about at the end of the day. We've got Engineering Eternity trying to get to the Ancient Pyramid, finding it just now. Is he going to be hitting another skill swap? I think so. He might have to swap mid-Vaal fight, honestly. That's going to be quite tricky to pull off.
Yeah, swapping during boss fights, as we talked before about, is very, very awkward, and that's happened before in the other wheel race. If you guys tuned in last time, so it is something. I mean, it's something we've definitely seen, but it's going to happen more often in these races just because we lowered the time intervals from 10 minutes to 7 minutes.
Yeah, they're going to have to swap out a lot more, and I mean, there's
Gazzy.
a ton of new abilities too.
Gazzy, have to go in the back against Fidelitas. Not something you want to have to do, but I mean, at least he does spare himself from a death. Still gets down very low. And we're going to now roll again, like you said, Engineering probably going to have to swap skills in the middle of this fight. Maybe a good thing, I don't know. Lightning Strike working well for these other two, for well, mainly Nugi. Heshla not so much, I guess. So I think Engineering is okay with this switch because
I think he's gonna make it prior to the switch. Honestly, he's still got about a minute and 20 seconds, and Vault's dropping pretty fast.
that's very true. It really depends if Vaal decides to submerge her or stay up with the ads, and he does actually end up putting those ads down, going down. But I think he's going to kill him right before they have to switch. So I think he's
Yeah.
going to be in the clear.
This is gonna be very, very close, though. If he starts getting a lot of ad phases, he's got, we're rolling right now. He's got about a minute. Vaul is about 50%, which means that it took him about 40 seconds to do this. It's gonna be clutch, but I think he's gonna make it.
I'm pretty sure. And the Vaal does go back down though. I think Engineer's gonna be fine. I don't know. It's gonna be close to Nugi now starting on Piety when we have to roll here. So Nugi's gonna be able to kill Piety just in time as well. And yeah, Engineering is definitely taking down Vaal before we even have the roll completion. So they're all in the clear. Nugi and Engineering kind of swaying that one off. They're fine.
Oh,
And
they're fine.
Infernal Blow.
I mean, they're not fine on everything but the boss fights. The boss fights, gonna be great. Everything else, probably not so much. I'm actually very much interested to see how this is gonna be looking here, because I'm not gonna lie, I've never really seen anybody leveling with Infernal Blow. And the last time, well, I have seen somebody, but that was with Melee Splash, and even then, it was not impressive whatsoever.
Yeah, Infernal Blow gonna be an awkward one, like you said. Engineering though has a pretty good boarding axe though with the 45% IPD, so I mean that's gonna be helping him. But he is out leveling these things. He will be pretty soon.
Definitely so. I think it's very, very helpful for these players right now because they're getting to a point, I'm sure, where there's so much stuff in their inventory that it's so difficult to manage. It's so hard to pick up those items, put them in your inventory, and all this time you're preparing for an Izaro fight. You have to level all the abilities, move them around, keep them in your offhand, put them in your main hand. It's getting really, really, really confusing. So this little breather that they have right now without having to switch out their items is for sure very helpful.
Yeah, we see Heshla now taking down Piety, which Nugi just did about 30 seconds ago or so. Piety, one of those bosses where normally a very, very simple and easy fight, but sometimes those lightning strikes can really hurt you. Not lightning strikes, but her lightning damage is kind of scary.
I wouldn't know anything about that. Never really had issues with the Piety fight themselves. But Heshla pulling through pretty fast, actually. That Infernal Blow not looking too bad on the single target. We're going to have to see a little bit more AoE for the players here. Obviously, it's benefiting a lot from the big packs. And but without that melee splash, it might just be a little bit too tricky. Actually, Nugi just one-shot. Nugi's like one-shotting everything.
Wow,
Oh my
getting really low
goodness.
there. But yeah, he is doing a lot of damage. He does. I think he's going to pick up this bust here. I'm not sure if he's going to go for the... Did he get the first one? I didn't see. He is moving items out to pick up this bust, so it seems like he's wanting to maybe get all three of these.
Wow, he is using a 6-link Inferno Blow. It's added lightning, onslaught, added cold, melee splash, and elemental focus, actually. Wow, and that damage is looking pretty great.
And I think Nugi really preparing here, like we said before, looking at over all those skills, and wow, just decimating every pack, just exploding them. It's just pretty impressive here, as we haven't seen Infernal Blow used, I mean, ever in these races until now. So this is quite the spectacle.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really down to the melee splash. If you're looking at the other players' screens, they're not dealing with mobs nearly as fast as Nugi is, despite having a pretty large amount of links too. Nugi making sure that he gets those big pulls and fully utilizes the area of effect that he can gain through Inferno Blow, picking up those busts and getting as much experience as possible. I think considering that he's going to be hitting level 23 sometime in the very near future, while Heshla is basically on the same in the same spot as he is, but a level lower, I think Nugi might be going for a little bit higher than level 24. Jeez, he one-shots that discharger.
It's one of those things where I feel like maybe these people not knowing how the Infernal Blow works too much. Just a recap here, Infernal Blow does do AoE when you kill an enemy. The enemy explodes, but with the melee splash, being able to kill multiple enemies within, simultaneously causes a lot of AoE damage, kind of like an obliteration.
Oh yeah. No, it's huge. It's making a very, very massive difference here. And I mean, the big thing is that Nugi's got that elemental focus. He's got all those gems. Something that was very, very important for all of these players to pick up here was certainly, and I think that also was part of the reason why a lot of them went for the Shadow, was that if you pick up added lightning and added cold, you can really utilize it on anything. And if you're a class that's also getting elemental focus in Act 2, no matter what ability you're using, this will be helpful. And those are the sockets that these players should be utilizing, and Nugi is the only one who's really using all of them.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Engineering did use that melee splash, or maybe listening in to the stream, taking a little bit of pointers, getting some hints, taking some,
No,
notes
actually,
away,
yeah.
using
Both
the melee
Heshla
splash
did.
here. Not sure if he started with it. I didn't notice, but maybe one of those things where you listen in to the event while you're racing, possibly, pick up some strats on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, Heshla definitely didn't start off with it, but he quickly adapted. And this is really his experience coming through. Like I mentioned before, he's not exactly known for his racing abilities, but being a player who makes so many guides for so many different things, he definitely knows his stuff, and he can adapt to just about any situation without prior experiencing it, which is one of the biggest strengths of any racer. Adapting as fast as possible, but his experience just coming through.
We see Ghazzy here still struggling with Act 2, so far behind. He's just kind of...
Did he just log out or die? Or he was
I
in
don't
Sins
know.
2 just a second ago.
Did he forget to pick up the item? No, he forgot to do the trial, or opted not to do the trial, so he's going back to pick up the trial, I
Right.
think, in the Chamber of Sins level 2. I was wondering if... Oh, he's going solo again, Ghazzy. No, back off. Ghazzy, just sit. Look at him, though. He's just sitting there. Doesn't care.
Ghazzy, please.
Doesn't seem to care.
Usually I would say these are calculated situations, but I mean, he doesn't die, but that didn't look particularly calculated.
Now Ghazzy just kind of walking through carefree, doesn't really mind, taking too much damage, but does care enough to back off from that damage so he doesn't die. Maybe a little embarrassed here with his performance, but this race is very odd. It is very new, so I don't think there's anything to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, I definitely think so. It can be very real. We've got another spin. What are we hoping for? I'm foreseeing Ice Shot.
Oh,
Calling it Ice Shot.
I'm gonna say Static Strike.
Oh, 3 melee abilities in a row?
Possibly.
Bold call. Finding out in just a second as Ghazzy picks up the...
I'm trying to think what they
trial.
wouldn't want here. I mean, we can't roll the same
Shot.
skills anymore, so...
Oh,
Lightning arrow.
arrow.
Wow.
Okay.
Lightning arrow, definitely a skill that people like to see. People using that with the Doomfletch Prism, as many have seen probably in higher level builds. But Lightning arrow being really strong even at a very early level. So that's going to be something that if they have the right setup, they can really, really utilize well.
I mean, again, the person in the lead, which is Nugiyen, I think he will be most comfortable with that. Ghazzy laughing a little bit. The problem is they do have the Tabula Rasa, so getting those links is not a problem. But even though Ghazzy has the lightning arrow, I think he's incapable. Maybe he doesn't have it. He can't equip it. He's shaking his head. I think he still has the bow, but he doesn't have a transmute, so he can't buy
going back
less than
here,
multiple
I
projectiles.
believe. Where is he? He's going back to do the fetid pool to get another refund. Is he trying to get the refund again? I don't know what he's doing, but the fetid pool, Ghazzy, is not the right call ever.
Is he? I'm not. Does he? Is he worried about? Does he not have a lightning arrow whatsoever, or
I think he
does he
doesn't
not
have
the
enough dex to
projectiles?
use his upgraded bow, possibly. He was looking at the Jade Amulet. I'm not too sure, but he is going back to the fetid pool. I think he needs to refund something here, probably dealing with a lack of skill points or character points. I think it's a dex thing, but I'm not too sure. But he could have bought a Jade Amulet, didn't buy that. I'm not sure if the Lapis is actually keeping him from using certain
I don't
support.
think it's a Jade because he doesn't have a transmute. He either doesn't have the lightning arrow. I mean, or he doesn't have the dexterity. But then
Why
he
is he
just
getting
doesn't.
fetid pool? It has to be something with a refund passive. This is all you're going to get from
Right.
this quest, and it's one of those things where there are other refunds that he could go for, like we said before, near the trial. I'm not sure if he picked up the trial, in Act 2, but there is a refund there. So I'm not too sure what Ghazzy is thinking.
He's probably thinking a lot more things right now that we can possibly imagine.
It's one of those things when you get really far behind, you get a little disgruntled and frustrated, your mind gets a little bit cloudy, and you just can't really think of anything to do. You don't really think of the best, options, and you just go with the only one that you remember, which was the fetid pool from before. And this is really showing a lot of just problems here for Ghazzy's end.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping for a bow ability to throw a wrench in the cogs here for a lot of these players, but I didn't think that it will put Ghazzy at such a huge disadvantage yet again.
So yeah, Ghazzy having that lack of dexterity, like we were saying before, these character points are just so important. Not just to level your skill gems, but also to even use them at times, and then to use your upgraded items. So Ghazzy, really just falling victim to this issue.
Ooh, Ghazzy abusing that. Herald of Thunder, Auto Bomber confirmed, blasting through the fetid pool.
Look at Ghazzy opting to play with one hand here, just saying, I don't care, I'm just going to get through this. I only got 2 hours maximum. So Ghazzy just kind of lackadaisically just walking around, trying to get that refund passive. Nuki here on the bottom right, just making his way through the Solaris Temple, going to talk to Dahlia, so...
Yeah, I mean, Nugi is closing in. He is level 24, looking to, I think, possibly get level 26. I'm sure he's getting a bunch of information from his stream fanboys as to the position of the other players. He knows that Heshla is pretty close, but Heshla is also level 22, and it's very tough to be entering docks at level 23 because you're not really getting experience, but it's not fully optimized. So with Nugi being level 24, I think he's got a way more significant advantage than it might initially seem from just a progression point of view.
Yeah, and Nugi did pick up that waypoint, going to docks now to pick up the quest item. So Heshla, though, also making his way through the Solaris Temple, pretty much following the same route as Nugi here. And Engineering making his way through that sewer. So he's a little bit behind. Obviously, Ghazzy, like we're saying before, very, very far behind. And do you think it's possible that we could see a Izaro kill before Ghazzy even makes it to Act 3?
I think so. I'm sorry. I wish this was not a reality, but at this point, yeah, that's a real possibility. I mean, Ghazzy has the advantage that while the other players, even Nugiyen, as you can see, he's really struggling with these mobs, right? The lightning arrow isn't really that great of an ability. Most of the ranger skills for racing require a pretty good bow, while these players don't really have much of an opportunity to be acquiring such gear, since constantly they have to use those caster and melee abilities. So even Nugi, I think, would be happier with the Inferno Blow. So the big advantage is that Ghazzy has a lot more running to do, and the other players have a lot more killing to do. Therefore, technically, he's benefiting from this ability. I'm not sure.
I mean, Lightning Arrow, very good AoE damage, so Nugi using that with the LMP. LMP, a very, very strong skill here with any
Yeah.
projectile. Being able to clean up a lot of, packs here, especially with that density. Docks being one of those great leveling zones. But of course, Nugi here getting stuck, though, with that Harbinger pack. Having to back out here. I think he went the wrong way. But the Harbinger pack just lingering, just lingerers all the
Yeah.
time, just kind of stuck on you. They're not ones that you want to really party with.
Yeah, and soon all the players will be switching out their abilities, so I think Heshla's gonna make it to the waypoint. I believe that Engineering Eternity will be completing the Catacombs trial here, while Nugi is still searching for the last item from the docks.
And he's about to get that now while we're getting
Yep.
a new roll. So no one really in a tight position here for the new roll. So I'm not sure, how they're feeling. I think it's a pretty bit neutral thinking here for re-rolling.
You sure
I think Arrow's
nobody's
not
in a tight
bad.
position?
Well, I mean, Gazzy here is,
Yeah,
doing well, right?
Gazzy's in a little bit of a
I
tight
think he'll be.
spot.
I've been rooting for Gazzy. I'm gonna be honest here. Gazzy, underdog by far.
Oh, God,
An ice shot coming out there. Well, Gazzy has the
No.
bow out, so he does have the dex. Maybe Gazzy 200 IQ here, thinking ahead, saying, you know what, there could be another bow skill. I should really get my dex in order. And Gazzy making the right call here, being able to put ice shot on right after that lightning arrow runs out.
Yeah, so at this point, I believe are those no, we still have shrapnel shot being the last bow ability. I mean, all things considered, this has been a pretty rough race. If they end up rolling the shrapnel shot, we're going to go through all the bow abilities, which are widely considered the worst racing abilities.
That is true. I think ice shot, though, a really, really good leveling skill. So something that probably is going to carry them through pretty far. Lightning arrow, really good as well. So these bow skills have been working out really well for these players. And, Nugi having a pretty good bow. I mean, 7 to 14 cold damage with the added elemental damage that he's doing already is pretty big.
Oh yeah, he's using a bone bow, which is a level 24 base. Definitely very, very helpful. I would say he is by far the most prepared player for this, especially since he's utilizing those elemental rolls. Oh, excuse me, split arrow is also left, so hopefully, I mean, before when I was talking about the ice shot, I was joking a little bit. I was kind of hoping that ice shot is going to happen then, but not now. Like, these players using all these abilities, but imagine a split arrow Izaro kill. That just can't be pretty.
Nugi here, I don't know what happened, but he ended up going back to town, possibly get his life regen or flash regen. I'm not too sure, but did a quick portal back, and now he's going to pick up this trial here in the hedge maze. So Nugi about, I believe, to step into the lab soon.
I think he's preparing for it. He is level 25 running hedge maze now, which means that he most likely isn't looking to get any experience. He knows that Heshla is really close to him. Honestly, at this point, Engineering Eternity is quite close too. All it takes from Nugi is possibly one rest in peace in the lab, and all these other players are going to be caught up.
Yeah, and
Except
Gazzy
Gazzy.
here having the fight of the century here, duel of fates. Like, this is taking him a long time. He's down.
He is
really
out
low.
of
His
potions.
blast anymore. He has no life and no mana. Gazzy says, I'm going to
gets
duel
the mana?
to the death. I think he wants to sit this one out and see just how long he can play chicken with Crichton.
Oh.
And Gazzy goes down. So
That's not a
sad,
big set.
Gazzy.
That was only like a 10 minutes Caitlyn fight. I think he's fine.
Gazzy here. That is not the look of enjoyment. I believe Gazzy is saying, oh my god, this is the worst day ever.
This is awful because this is how you destroy dreams. I remember after the last race, Gazzy was extremely motivated to keep racing in these events, and now for the finale of the entirety of the season, this is what he has to deal with. It's gonna take a lot of encouragement to see Gazzy come back, guys.
All right, so we do have Heshla and Engineering both at the docks. I didn't see, did they pick up, so Heshla does pick up that quest item, being able to make his way through here, picking up a rare. He's going to be picking up that rare amulet. I'm assuming picking up the amber. Everyone's opting to do that amber amulet. Oh, did you already have it? Oh, maybe he already had the amber
I think
ammo.
they were
Okay.
quite prepared, honestly.
Yeah, they already had
Nugi,
him.
one of the big things that Nugi has had going on for him throughout the entirety of the race was that despite not really picking up that many items, he has had consistent transmute drops, and this is what allowed him to pick up so many links and never really have any issues with transitioning to a different ability.
And you can just see here with the loadout. I mean, Nugi having a nice 2-stone ring with fire cold resistances and cold damage attacks. So that's really going to help him. He's stepping in the lab now, opting to go in at level 25. He is the most prepared at everyone, the highest level. So Nugi's going to have to deal with using Ice Shot. And I'm not too sure on the timer on the roll, but I'm pretty sure he's going to have to switch skills in the middle of lab. So maybe in a phase 1 or 2 fight, he's going to have to switch that skill, and hopefully he doesn't get something too bad here. There is still something like Sunder. There's a Sunder left, which could be so good.
I mean, Nugi's gear is honestly looking pretty great. He has he has elemental damage on every piece of his gear possible, except the amulet, which has 40%, 40 life. That is pretty massive. Even on his gloves, he's got a bunch of life, you know, some dexterity, so he doesn't run into the same problems as Ghazzy is running into.
And
His
one
gear
of
is
those
pretty good.
One of those things that Nugi has that is really that kind of ace in the hole, so to speak, is that seething giant flask here. Last time we saw some racer with a bubbling flask against the Izaro fight, they ended up winning the wheel race. And I believe that was you with that bubble flask clutch. It saved you many times on these fights.
Oh yeah, for sure. That is very helpful. I mean, we're going to be looking at actually he has a pretty significant amount of life. He's got 700 life. So he's definitely probably going to be looking to face tank some of these Izaro attacks just because he can.
And it looks like the Gargoyles, I feel like this is one of the worst loadouts you can get against Izaro at this level. It's just so scary. I mean, they give buffs to Izaro as well as just being so tanky. These Gargoyles are hard to kill.
Yeah, definitely so. Ooh, we're gonna have to see here. Does he go for finishing up the... Yeah, he goes for the Gargoyle finish off, and instead the other one will come to him. Definitely very problematic with that ice shot.
We are going to get reroll here, and as we know, phase 1, 2, and 3 taking a long time for most players because you're spreading real thin at such a low level, as well as not having the most optimal gear. So Nugi, I don't know, maybe going to have to switch prepare an ice shot unless he can finish him off now. Getting very low, hitting that seething giant life flask though, putting his life back up the full, saving him, no doubt there. So we are rolling here. I'm not too sure if Nugi can finish him off in time for phase 1. He's going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he did finish off 2 Gargoyles and he's got the Izaro to deal with, so even though he's going to be swapping around abilities, it shouldn't be that difficult as he was preparing and micromanaging his inventory throughout the entirety of this. I think this is going to be fine.
Yeah,
unless he gets split arrow.
Nugi getting
Shrapnel
shot. We are almost through every single bow skill. We've gotten all of them. Look at the look on Ghazzy's face as he sees shrapnel shot. He's saying, are you kidding me? Another bow skill. This has been like my life story on just not getting the right skills. Really cool. Look at his face. He's just having a good time though, which is what we like to see in these racing is, we love the competitiveness, and we also like the fact that these players are having a good time. Even if, they're frustrated, I'm still sure they're enjoying it.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Shrapnel Shot, probably a better pick than Ice Shot for Nugi, because yeah, it does deal a pretty significant amount of single target damage. You do have to be very close, so he's going to be utilizing that seeding flask to the maximum.
Look how fast Nugi is able to switch to that shrapnel shot. This is one of those things where being prepared, like we said before, but having to switch from a bow skill to another bow skill, obviously not hard to do. You just have to move one gem, usually with the Tabula Rasa, as it's colored for you all the time. And Nugi taking a long time here, though, on phase 1 of Izaro, as we predicted, just because of the fact that you're spread really thin, as I said before, with the damage.
Yeah, definitely so. But he's almost got it here. He's taking it down. We've got Heshla in the lab as well. Also using that shrapnel shot. We're going to be seeing probably a faster Izaro kill from him, considering that he should be dealing more damage to the Gargoyles. And hopefully Engineering Eternity will soon be hitting the lab. But I'm not
No.
gonna lie, I'm kind of hoping for a rip from both Heshla and Nugiyen here, so that all three alongside Engineering Eternity can enter the lab at the same time.
Can we get some claps in chat? Ghazzy taking down Crane. I believe it took him about
Ooh.
5-10 minutes, possibly. That was quite the battle. So Ghazzy happy to deal with that bandit. He has been a little tough for racers in the past, but I don't think we've ever had this much of a problem.
Yeah, that was definitely very rough. I think Bagazi in general was kind of banking on, not getting those bow abilities whatsoever, and we ended up rolling every single one except the split arrow. And who knows? There's still a bunch of time to go. We can still definitely land on the split arrow.
We do have Heshla stepping in to the Labyrinth, though, on phase 1, or is it phase 1 of Izaro? So Heshla making a lot of ground here, actually catching up a lot faster than I thought he would. So this is something that we might end up going down to a pretty close race. But Nugi starting phase 2, I think what Heshla has to hope is that Nugi goes down here to some mistake that he might make.
Yeah, I mean, that can definitely happen depending on how this is going to go here. I mean, Nugi has to dodge a lot. If he did take the Allura point, this is where it's going to help him out a lot. Ghazzy forgetting the Kraton Amulet or having to rerun it, but that's okay. While, oh, actually, Engineering Eternity going for the LMP shrapnel shot setup, trying to get as much AoE in and trying to clear as fast as possible to get to that lab and hopefully even it out with Heshla and Nugi.
And really concentrating here on Nugi's positioning. Look at him. He's standing behind these statues here, able to puncture through the statues, hitting the mobs, hitting Izaro all in one shot. Definitely utilizing those skills to the maximum.
Ooh, Heshla goes down!
Oh, Heshla does go down on phase 1 of Izaro. That is not going to sit well with him. Engineering possibly being able to catch up here as long as Nugi doesn't fall as well. But as I was saying, Nugi is just showing so much mechanical skill here.
Yeah, but mechanical skill or not, he's only having one potion here, just now getting another charge, while no mana whatsoever, more ads coming through. He will not be able to continue to destroy these statues, and probably all three of them are going to be up, which will mean that he's going to have to dodge a lot.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those things where you get really low on the flask regen. You can't go back. You don't usually want to go back because you're gonna have to end up redoing the whole lab. Instead of being in phase 2, you're so far through the lab. It's just such a huge time sink. So Nugi's gonna try to stick it out as long as possible. Hopefully not have to die here. I mean, I'm assuming he would end up logging out if he felt like he was pressured too much. But he does get flask regen here a little bit, and he does complete phase 2. So here we go, Nugi pushing for that last and final phase.
Yeah, but not really setting himself up for this last phase. It's going to be quite difficult for him to get through that one. He's definitely pretty disappointed with himself from the look on his face. You can certainly tell. I mean, we were talking about how that Bismuth Flask is going to be helpful, and while that Quicksilver is really, really good for these players here, but it ended up hurting him because he did not have enough mana to be able to set himself up, despite the fact that he had a very good strategy, and ending up with the shrapnel shot, he was able to pierce through the statues and keep those down the whole way through until he ran out of mana. Also,
Ghazzy almost going down again, and people were saying that Ghazzy forgot to pick up the amulet from Creighton. I don't know if he went back and got it, but maybe he's going to be figuring out now after Oak that, crap, I forgot to pick it up.
No,
I have to go all the way. Okay, so he did pick it up. That's nice. So one of these things I want to point out too, of course, is in the lab, they do have the trinkets. They do have the Dark Shrine. We do notice a lot of these high-end racers not opting to pick them up. They don't want to use them. They take a little bit of time. How do you feel about that? Do you think the Dark Shrines are ever worth going for?
I think they can definitely be worth going for. I think most of the time they're worth going for. I mean, it kind of depends on what sort of situation you are and where the other players are. Currently, in the position that Heshla is in, I would say picking up everything that's going to help you in the Izaro fights would be worthwhile, and just kind of hoping that things are going to go bad for Nugi. But how can they really? He's got 750 life. Entering the lab, he had a white quiver. Now he's got a quiver with 2 types of elemental damage and almost 50 life. I mean, Nugi is looking really great, using his favorite abilities to deal with the Izaro as fast as possible.
Yeah, Nugi here going to be going in phase 3 with the new skill as we're rolling here in the next 10 seconds. Heshla did pick up the trinket for this phase. I do like that as the trinket helps so much on these gargoyles, able to destroy one right away. And even though the gargoyles are not invulnerable but resistant to damage, you can choose any of them to kill. So he's going to go ahead and kill down that first gargoyle. I believe it's the speed gargoyle.
Got
I'm not too
another
sure.
roll coming up. I wonder if it's going to be split arrow. I mean, let's be honest, split arrow, right?
I'm probably
give
just
it to
gonna wait
Nugi.
it going, but I'm you know, I don't know. I want to see static strength. That's what I want to see.
I want to see split arrow.
Static.
Come on.
Split
Split
arrow,
yes!
it's split arrow. That's insane. Every single
This is so
bow.
rigged.
This is
it's
rigged.
so
This
rigged.
is definitely weighted for bow for range skills. Gazzy, look at that look of despair.
Isn't Nugi one of the organizers and he gets every single bow
That is
ability?
true. One of the co-organizers set this up with Havoc here. I mean, this could be,
I don't know.
I don't know what this is.
We're gonna
This
have to
could
do
be a
some
setup,
detective
though.
work here. Send this to the right people. Look through the replays and chat logs, because this is just.
I want to see
it's
the
pretty
code
crazy.
behind this wheel. Look at all that elemental damage on phase 3 of Nugi. Nugi is taking him down here, so I think we're going to zoom in and watch this fight pretty soon. He does have Izaro down, a little bit lower than when he started, but it's going to be a rough fight no matter which way you look at it.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I don't believe that Nugi has his pierce anymore. I'm trying to see if he's piercing through the mobs, but he's still sitting on a single mana potion, and no more charges on that. So not only does he have to dodge a lot of these bubbles on the ground, but also he has to deal with his arrow and try to get through the ads with split arrow and no pierce.
It's just one of those things. Trying to push through Izaro lab as fast as possible, you end up buffing him usually. And these trials that they had are phase 1 and phase 2 gargoyles, and then the statues, definitely very, very hard to deal with. One of the worst combos, in my opinion, to do in a race. But Nugi making quick work of Izaro here, bring him down slow and steady. Does still have all of his flash charges, so being able to use the Dread Flask on his Bismuth as well as the Quicksilver, so dodging these skills left and right, doing really, really well with the placement. So I think he's going to be having a strong showing here as long as he doesn't mess up, and he barely dodges that leap slam from Izaro.
He does have a bunch of evasions, so he's doing very well here. Sure, his flasks are dropping constantly, but as long as he's dealing even a tiny little bit to Izaro himself and he doesn't really get hit, he should be in the clear here. I think he's looking very, very solid. Heshla is too, but he's just not nearly far enough to be able to take this amount of time.
Oh, wow,
deal
that
with this
ground slam, I'm thinking there was going to be way more damage, but doesn't do as much as I thought it would. Nugi here going to finish off Izaro pretty soon, though. He has him very low. I think Izaro's down sub 10% or so, and he just stands right in that barrage. I don't know what happened there. He did not get hit at all.
Yeah,
just
he's
took
got
that
evasion.
damage.
He's prepared. I mean, he's been picking up those evasion nodes. You can really see that he's dodging so much. Honestly, Nugi's gear is just looking
Oh, he goes low.
incredible, considering that he is level 25 and Heshla is level 24. He's got 250 life more. He's got 50% life more than Heshla.
I think this is going to be it here in the next
Yep.
about 10 seconds or so. He's going to bring down Izaro. Nugi's going to be the first one if he doesn't get hit here and end up dying. And let's see, 1, 2, maybe 3 more shots. And he's going to finish here very
Finishing
shortly.
it off in with an
133.
auto attack in style.
133.41. Look at that. Look at his relief. He's laughing. He's having a good time. Raising his arms in victory. You are the victor, Nugi. Good job. Easy claps in chat. That was a really strong showing by Nugi. 130. I mean, with all things considered, 131, an amazing time no matter how you cut it. But adding in the fact that he had the wheel, that's insane.
I think that's a pretty good time. Sure, I would say the wheel was a little bit in his favor. We did end up going through every single bow ability, clutching it out. The wheel clutched it out at the very end with that split arrow. But definitely something that was very much in favor of Nugi. But even when the players were using melee abilities or caster abilities, honestly, throughout the entirety of the race, he was the player who was most prepared with his links and sockets, but also the weapons that he was using for those kills.
That's very, very true. And it does pain me to say that Ghazzy did not make it Act 3 before the first Izaro kill. And Heshla going down there, I believe in phase 1, again of Izaro. So 2 deaths for Heshla,
Yeah.
both in the lab. I'm not sure. What do you do now? Do you pull yourself away? Do you try to level a bit? Maybe like 1 or 2 more levels? I mean, he's been really struggling here in the lab, even with the trinkets. Maybe go. I don't know if there's any dark shrines before the fight, but what do you do in this position?
I mean, honestly, I think gear wise he's fine. Again, he has only 500 life while Nugiyen had 750 life. So that's definitely a huge factor here. But I think Heshla, it's not an accident that he went into the lab with 500 life. I think he was just quite confident in his abilities, but things just ended up not lasting. I think he doesn't really need to take time to prepare further for the lab. He just kind of needs to buckle down and, maybe even himself, he would say that he just needs to get good. I think he can do it.
And interestingly enough, engineering, going to the docks, I believe, to get some levels here. Now on level 25, I think he might step into the lab. I think he was ready. I think he did all the trials. I'm not too sure. I don't know if he went to Hedge Maze already, but taking his time here and maybe ending, maybe being in a good decision here, as we did see Heshla go down twice.
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, even Engineering Eternity, despite entering the lab, as I expect him to very soon, he has 650 life, so that's a pretty massive difference right there. That's definitely a big buffer for Engineering Eternity, who actually is going for the trial. I believe that's his last trial. I think he was the only one who did not go for the prison trial early on.
We did point that out. I wasn't 100% sure, but Heshla here, I think, pulling himself back, did log out there. I don't know, doing maybe, spending some extra time thinking a bit through. I think he just needs to pull back, take a deep breath, recompose, and then get back into that lab.
Definitely so. We have another spin coming up, so Heshla being the only player who might possibly suffer from this. I mean, at this point, is he going to wait? Is he going to go in? Does he have enough weapons? Let's see what we last on. There's no more bow abilities.
No more bows. There are a lot of spells, and there are a few melee. I believe there's more spells than anything. How many spells did we have? We had Spark and Freezing Pulse. Is that it?
Magmorb. We had Magmorb too.
Magmorb, that's right.
I'm expecting Static Strike or Firestorm.
I want to see. I don't really want to see Sunder.
Ice Nova.
But Ice Nova, that's right. Sunder is a big ticket item that a lot of racers love to use. Maybe it's gonna roll in their favor. Let's see. It is Ice Nova. You called it right.
I'm the prophet.
Wow.
I'm the prophet of the people. I'm sorry, Heshla. I love you, but yeah, you're gonna have to wait a couple more minutes. Oh, and I guess same for Engineering Eternity. It hits him. You can see it tilts the head back. It gets to him.
Gazzy with the face palm. I'm not sure why. Maybe he decides that everything just seems to go wrong for him tonight or today. It just might be one of those things though where it doesn't matter what it rolls. There's always going to be the face palm. He's been struggling so much. As you can see, Nugi here having a good time, really relaxed. Just
I think he's really
laughing
happy right
and
now.
Possibly, maybe tuning into the stream. I'm not sure.
Honestly, looking at this and the face that Engineering Eternity and Heshla have made, Engineering Eternity immediately left the lab, came back in right after. Honestly, I think even if these players had 5 mana potions, they wouldn't have enough mana to be able to kill Izaro with Ice Nova. No way.
Yeah, Ice Nova, not one of those things you want to get. And like you said, true display of skill here. Heshla, I believe, picking up the trinket again, does opt to take down. He takes down a different gargoyle, I believe. The first time he took down the steel imbued, assuming that I don't think they don't change positions, correct?
I honestly wouldn't know. Definitely not a. I'm more of the Heshla type, pretty confident in lab, but if I do it in a race, I die 4 times in a row and then lose to Zazarian. So, I don't believe they change positions, but
going down there.
Good spot.
Yeah, engineering going down. That's really gonna hurt him because I was thinking if engineering wanted to catch up, this was definitely the time. As Heshla has 2 deaths under his belt. That's 4, I believe, a 4-minute. I think we have 2-minute death penalties, so a 4-minute penalty overall for Heshla, but engineering does go down for his first death.
Yep, definitely unexpected. I mean, he's worried about everything but the ads, right? You're mostly concerned about Izaro. Ended up going down to the dischargers.
Oh, Heshla goes down.
Turn of events.
Heshla goes down as well. That's 3 deaths for Heshla.
Oh,
He just
yeah.
cannot get through that phase 1. I don't know what he should do here. Maybe he should go back and rethink his layout and his setup. I don't know.
Honestly, I think Heshla is fine. It's just that's why he keeps going back in. He's probably pretty frustrated at himself. He knows he can do it. He's confident he can do it, but just ends up making one tiny mistake, and he has to rerun lab all over again.
That's very true, and I believe Heshla maybe even has 4 deaths at this point. And I think we're only doing 1-minute death penalties on these kind of special races. So 3 to 4 minute time penalty for Heshla, Engineering with only 1. But he goes so low here in the lab. Both of these players struggling so much on this lab, not even in the Izaro phase, but just making their way through.
Honestly, a lot of our predictions are coming through at this point. Ghazzy, not in Act 3. Nugi, finishing lab first. This is looking pretty good, but for Heshla and Engineering Eternity, it's still a really big struggle. And I mean, it's anybody's second place right now. And some might say, you know, second place is the first loser, but I think in a prestigious event such as this, it's still a very high display of skill. And both of them are entering the Aspirants Trial at the same time.
Yeah, they are, and we're going to see a nice little duel Izaro phase 1 here by both of these players. I think Engineer, I don't know, did anyone opt to take the trinket this time around? It looks like Heshla has been taking that trinket ever since. I think that's a good move. So does Engineering. No, Engineering Eternity opting not to use that trinket. I'm not sure what's the better choice here. I think if you can get the trinket and it doesn't take a lot of time, probably a good choice.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? The gargoyles are constantly chasing Izaro. Izaro's chasing you, so everything kind of stacked up. You can utilize all the Ice Nova plays, but oh my goodness, did you see that? Engineering Eternity had a potion going, gets hit, uses 2 more potions, and he's out now. And there's no ads in sight anytime soon.
Heshla goes
going down. Engineering Eternity going down at the same time. They're intertwined. They're connected.
Both of these players struggling so hard with that phase 1, and like I said before, the gargoyles being such a hard phase with Izaro, especially in this racing format. We do see Heshla with the flame totem, and I believe Engineering with the decoy that he got off of a drop, luckily, because he did not meal at all. So it doesn't really seem to matter for both these players, flame totem or decoy totem. They're both struggling.
Yeah, I mean, something to definitely keep in mind. A lot of players, I can see expert Reddit experts in the chat are pointing out that they're struggling a little bit here, but it's something to keep in mind that these players are level 24. You know, their gems are very low level. They don't have any sort of preset gear despite the Tabula. This will be a very, very hard kill, I think, for anybody involved in a race like this.
Yeah, both of these players, like we said before, struggling with Izaro. Heshla almost dying again to just a normal pack here. And we are going to be rolling soon, so maybe they're going to be able to get out of that Ice Nova phase, out of that slump, change to something that's better. Maybe a Sunder, maybe something else. I don't know. Ghazzy waiting for the Vaal fight, possibly that Heshla Engineering, giving him time to play catch-up. We said that we thought someone was going to finish before Ghazzy hit Act 3, and that is true. Nugi did, but maybe this time Ghazzy can catch up and get to Act 3 before Heshla and Engineering finish the race.
That is possible. I mean, I think we're currently out of all the tier 1 ability. Cleave we've done, Inferno Blow, Spectral Throw, Molten Strike, Shrapnel, Ice Shot Splitter, Freeze Ball, Spark, Magma Orb. Yep, we've done everything, right? So we're only really looking through Firestorm, Sunder, and Static Strike. So all 3 of those are pretty good.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where... No, I don't think Static Strike is something they want. Sunder and Firestorm sound very good to me, at least at this point. Better than Ice Nova, that's for sure.
I would say those are the 2 best possible abilities. It's funny how they lasted until the very end, considering that, those are the best abilities, especially Firestorm on a Shadow.
That's very true. Engineering showing a different type of playstyle here with Heshla, who's just kind of brute forcing, trying to hit through phase 1. Engineering went down one time. The phase 1 against Izaro says, you know what? I don't want to die again. I'm going to go back to the docks, level a bit, and Static Strike is the next skill. That is not something you want to see. It's just so hard to use, especially after struggling with Ice Nova, dealing with Static Strike now. Just so frustrating.
Yeah, this has definitely been a great order of things with the two best racing abilities staying until the very end. I think this is some sort of trickery from Ghazzy, who wants to give himself an opportunity to catch back up, and as soon as he's going to be entering the lab, he's going to get that sun there and clean everything up real nice.
And Heshla here on phase 1. I think he's going to have to switch in the middle of this fight, as it does take quite a bit of time to take down Izaro, especially with that low damage from Ice Nova.
Yeah, I mean, the static strike is looking... Yeah, it... It's looking. Things are happening. It's not looking great, though.
No, it's
That's
taken
for
a long
sure.
time here for sure, but he does take down these gargoyles, so Heshla doing a decent job. But I mean, any melee skill against Izaro at this level is very scary because you have to get so close. And with his AoE skills like his barrage and his leap slam even, and all of his skills pretty much are just scary. You don't want to be close to him.
Yeah, I mean, Heshla can utilize that Flame Totem since he's been planning to play around it, He's definitely got the Flame Dash, probably should be dropping that Burning Ground a little bit more. Possibly a Vigilance Strike would help him out quite a bit. He is a Shadow, so he can get either Temporal Chains or Enfeeble. He is level 24, something you can definitely use there for the Flame Totem. He can get an Orb of Storm's Blind. I think definitely these players could be way more prepared and have these fights be a lot easier, especially considering that at this point they're melee. Like they have to be melee for at least the next 6 minutes.
That's very true. Engineering did pick up 1 level. Going back for the trinket this time around on phase 1, he didn't pick up the first time, did fall there against Izaro, went back to docks, gained a level, get a few more or 1 more passive skill. I think he got the trinket, and now he's going to go back.
Heshla.
And Heshla going down 1 more time. It's just one of those things, like I said before, level 24. Even Nugi, who won quite a while ago, about 15 minutes ago, was level 25. So maybe Heshla needs to pull back, look at this, reevaluate, and go to the docks and gain a level or 2, and then go back at it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Heshla being really greedy with the damage. If he would just set up a couple more utility abilities, I think he would be doing a lot better here. In terms of preparation for the Izaro fight for the Static Strike, I think if he were to use a Decoy Totem the same way Engineering Eternity will in just a second, I think he would be honestly better off. I love how Heshla just looks at his gear, thinks about it for a minute, and it just goes, nope. There's back in. It's like, nah, I don't need nothing. I just gotta get good, and I'm gonna do this.
Engineering about to step into phase 1, so I think it's a good time to reiterate maybe on the changes that we made for this race. We ended up having a 10-minute time buffer for skills before the wheel would be rolled, and this time we moved it to 7-minute, and we added more skills. Heshla getting really low here, but I think there's another change, right, we had with support skills like Flame Totem. Is there a different rule that we had here?
I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
Okay, I was just wondering because I know that we had a lot of usage of the decoy and the flame totem. I don't think we took any liberties for that. I think we decided that people can still use them.
Right, but you can't put them back into.
But you can't put them in the tabula, and I believe that was something that we did not have before, and people were utilizing the tabula for 2-5 links, 3-4 links, what have you. And now we decided that you can only use supporter skills and main skills in your tabula, so you can still use a flame totem with socketed gems, but you need to end up finding an item.
Oh, Heshla, please! Oh, engineering, please!
Engineering going down, laughs a bit, shakes his head, takes off the headphones, says, "I'm going to take a break here."
He's out.
I don't know.
He's leaving to meditate.
Maybe needs a drink. I don't know. Maybe he had to use the restroom. That's something that happens in these racing, formats where.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting to sit here for so long. He thought, bim bam, I'm just gonna go in, beat everybody, in an hour, and he's gonna be fine. But no, his bladder is a weak one, and he has to leave.
Heshla here just powering through this phase 1 of Izaro. He's been really struggling. I think he's died at least 5 times on him. So a lot of deaths here. 2 deaths for engineering on phase 1 itself. I think he had died maybe 4 times or so by now for engineering. And Heshla, he has at least 5 deaths, I believe, So that's a lot. And Engineering does come back, puts the headphones back on, says, I'm ready. I took a little bit of break. Maybe he needed to get some fresh air. Do what he had to do. He's coming back into this race.
Yeah, you can see that he definitely washed hands as he was rubbing his hands on his jeans, making sure that there's no water left over on that. No slippery motions for Engineering Eternity. He's ready to go.
And Heshla getting so low here on that phase 1. He's been struggling so much on it. And not much has changed, but maybe he can make it through this time he has one life flask left. On this, he gets, oh god, Heshla is just living on the wire here. It's just pretty crazy to see him live through these shots.
Yeah, but
Oh,
okay. I love that. That was just a single bump, and he's out. Oof. I mean, we're spinning in about 30 seconds from now, so they're definitely going to have a much easier time fully utilizing either Sunder or Firestorm. I think both of these skills are going to be immensely helpful for these boss fights, but they don't have a whole lot of time. I mean, they're going to be in lab. We've got 9 minutes until the end of the race. I don't think Ghazzy will be seeing the lab whatsoever. As long as they are in the lab, they can still play over the 2-hour mark. So all they got to do is make sure that they don't die at all past the next 9 minutes. Let's see, what kind of skill we end up on.
Arc still one of the options? Was Arc an option?
Oh, Arc is still an option. Oh no!
So Arc not going to be something that you want. It's Sunder though. Sunder, they possibly close this out for Heshla and Engineering. Like I said, the racer's dream. Everyone wants this skill. They love it. They need it. So maybe this is what they're going to have to take the next step to actually complete the lab in time.
Yeah, but really, let's think about it. Sure, they're done with the static strike. They've got the Sunder, but considering their level and the gear, will they really be able? Will they really be able to finish the entirety of the lab within the 7 minutes that they've got now? I am expecting that the game's gonna get their hopes up with that Sunder and then crush their dreams with the Arc on the last fight.
And that's definitely something you don't want to have to see as a racer, to be able to use one of the best skills and then not actually complete what you came here to do. Nugiyen going offline here. I think he wanted to take a break. I know he is casting the next famine race, so maybe he needs to kind of take a step back, take a breather, just as the Engineering did earlier on. Heshla is still just powering through. I feel like he's just trying to brute force this fight at this point, but maybe the Sunder is the ticket.
Oh yeah, I think with the Sunder and the Decoy Totem, that's definitely a problem for Heshla, but Engineering Eternity should at least be able to take down this first stage. And once he's done with the difficulty of the gargoyles, I think he's going to be in business to finally finish up with that lab.
Ghazzy here taking sitting up from his seat or standing up here. I'm not sure what happened, but I think he's going to call it.
He typed BRB Toyelt. I'm not sure, Ghazzy being Swedish, Toyelt, maybe somebody can translate that in the chat for us. Thank you very much, guys. But we'll see if Engineering Eternity can take down the gargoyles. He did kill one of them so far. Another one is below 50% life. I think he's got it, although he is dropping much on his potions.
So it looks like people are saying Ghazzy is going up for a bathroom break, as that means toilet. Maybe something else that Engineering had to do as well. So 2 of these guys with the long ones. Oh, and Engineering so low. I can't believe he lived through that. 79 HP, possibly lower, and he lives. He has no more potions, so he's gonna have to dodge and kill the minion spawn, take any flask regen, and he goes down.
I mean, he failed on the #1 rule of Path of Exile. Don't get hit. Why get hit if you can't just not get hit? He ended up getting hit, and that was the biggest problem in that fight, I think.
It's one of those things what we've talked about before with flask management. A lot of these players sometimes getting into a Monka-esque state where you just get so nervous you end up fat fingering multiple potions that just doesn't help. You just end up wasting all those flash charges.
Yeah, but I mean, Heshla, on the other hand, he has taken down all the gargoyles. Izaro is very low, just about to go to the next phase, and his potions are looking great. Honestly, very good potion management from Heshla, considering that he is using both heralds with only 2 mana flasks. This is looking great for Heshla at this point.
I am a big fan of the 3 health pot 2 mana combo in lab because I'm not nearly as good as someone like Nugi who opted to go again with a Bismuth that he used throughout most of the race.
Single
Actually,
mana flask.
it's such a good flask though, that Bismuth to get the extra resistances to end up not taking as much damage on a lot of these bosses, and having the adrenaline suffix on that is so amazing. Like I said before, basically having 1.5 Quicksilver flasks.
Yeah, that's definitely pushed him a level beyond. And I mean, this is something that cost Heshla a lot of time in the early parts of the race, where he did mule that second Quicksilver, while Nugi didn't have to mule a Quicksilver. Not only did he get the Bismuth drop, but also got adrenaline on it.
So what happens if this race goes far long enough to where we run out of skills? Do we just call it? I don't know. I don't know. We need to look at the fine print here, because I think this is something no one envisioned.
I think we should ask the players. You know, maybe we should ask Ghazzy whether or not he wants this race to continue.
That's
I'm
very
sure he
true,
would be
Ghazzy.
all about, with the warrior spirit, he would be all about further continuing this race for all of eternity.
And Heshla here, did he go down? I didn't see it. Did he pass phase 1? I actually didn't realize, but he has that shrine. Well, there's a dominate. What's that called again? I can't think right now. But massive shrine. There you go. Thank you. Doing a lot of damage. So not going to be able to bring it into Izaro, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean the players are going.
Oh, sorry. That is a dark shrine, massive shrine. Okay.
Yep.
So he gets a dark shrine. Okay, so that's very, very strong here. So he does opt to go for the dark shrine. I feel like that's a good move, especially when you're fighting for that second, third place position. You can't get first anymore, so it's going to slow you down a bit, but possibly it's going to be the one move that's going to give him the second place finish here. Engineering getting very low as well.
Yeah, he's constantly dropping low, but not quite low enough for Izaro's taste. Well, he's going to be taking down the second gargoyle. I think this time around he's looking a lot better. His damage has been great. We're getting a roll very soon, I think.
Yeah, we should be getting a roll pretty shortly here, but the massive shrine with the Sunder combo doing a lot of work here on phase 2. I think, you know, with the roll, we're going to have a phase 3 switch there, and engineering goes down again on phase 1.
These are his last opportunities. He's typing something, but we can't see. What did he type?
I don't see his webcam is in the way. Heshla getting very low here, but managing his last very well. Not that varying, showing composure. He is able to dodge most of these barrage shots, which do so much damage here in the lab. But Heshla, like I said, wanting to finish him off here before the skill switch, because we know it's either going to be Firestorm or Arc, and Arc is something you just don't really want to see.
I definitely want to see Arc. Excuse me, we've got the roll coming up. It's funny because with the massive shrine, just now Heshla still has less life than what Nugi had on his Izaro kill. I want the Arc.
So out of all of the dark shrines you could get, there's a diamond shrine, a regen shrine. I believe there's a dominating shrine. Which one would you want in lab for these races?
I want the gem to be Arc.
No,
it's Firestorm.
It is Firestorm. Probably the better one for the racers. As we can tell, Rise here, being the sadist, wanting these guys to go through more and more harm. But I think, you know, for Heshla Engineering's sake, definitely something they'd rather see over Arc. But Engineering, I think, maybe throwing in the towel, just sitting here looking at his Resurrect screen. And I see the look of defeat on his face. He is laughing a little bit of lightheartedness there, but I think he's pretty much frustrated at this whole performance in the end.
Has Engineering Eternity given up? I mean, come on, man. You've only got like 14 minutes to go. It seems like we will be extending the race for the last ability, which will be the Arc.
Do you think Heshla is going to be able to finish this off with the Firestorm before the Arc roll?
I think so.
I think he's going to as well with that Master Shrine, helping him, giving him so much life. I think that was the biggest setback for him, is the fact that he had such a low amount of life, especially compared to Nugi. Nugi having around 700 life, rocking the lab at level 25. Heshla level 24, but only rocking about 500 or so base life without that massive shrine. So very, very risky.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I mean, that's just RNG to a certain extent. The players could have definitely prepared a lot more. It's just surprising, you know. You're used to lab. I know myself, when I was participating in one of these events. You know, I did very well in the early game, and then I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do lab. I never die in lab. What's the big deal? But then when I tried to do it 500 life, you know, I had to go through 2 or 3 rips before I was actually able to take down Izaro. So definitely a big shock, I think, for a lot of these players here. If you don't do a practice run before and you don't know how an Izaro with 500 life and no damage feels like, yeah, this is gonna be a pretty massive wake-up call.
It's one of those things that we've said time and time again throughout this whole race. After all the setbacks, all the problems that Ghazzy has ran into, he's still toughing it out, still playing in this race, hasn't thrown in the towel, still making his way, just crawling through Act 3 very slowly but surely. He's not going to be able to do much here, but it's still something that, you know, is to be said about Ghazzy, having that perseverance.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ghazzy's laughing. I think they're getting the bad news, guys. And the bad news being that the crowd wants to see the arc. And so, you know, if they've got it in them, they're going to have to continue to play. We're going to see if these players here are with you guys on this one.
Yeah, and I think Heshla, you know, hearing that arc comment, laughing as well, he's just thinking, please, please, let me kill this guy before
Yes.
the arc roll. Just let me use this Firestorm. And I think he's going to be able to do it as long as he doesn't make any large mistakes here, which could happen, though. Sometimes you lose composure, get a little complacent on phase 3 because you think you've pretty much won the race, or you have it, you know, you've reached the finish line, but you haven't really crossed it yet. And I've died many times on phase 3 thinking that it's the easy phase. It usually is, but sometimes you just make one little misstep, and you have to start
dropping
all
to
the way
50%.
over.
I mean, one more hit and it would have done him in. I mean, honestly, the thing is, the Massive Shrine was definitely helpful in the Sunder, but now that he's using Firestorm, the Massive Shrine makes it so that the Firestorm spreads out to a larger area and less balls are actually hitting Izaro. Therefore, he's taking less damage, but he does have that extra buffer with the HP.
I think the extra HP being a nicer factor than the fact that, like you said before, the AoE size is larger, but it's more spread out, so you're not actually hitting as many shots on Izaro. But I think he's happy to see the extra HP in this one.
Yeah, I'm seeing some advice for Heshla in the chat. Should get rid of the shrine to BH. I think I agree with that. I mean, as long as you don't get hit, I think he should be delivering more damage without the Massive Shrine.
Yeah, on phase 3, especially with the Firestorm skill, probably the better thing to do. And that's the thing I feel like some of the players out here, maybe who haven't played much, don't know. You can actually right-click the shrine, the dark shrines that you get, as well as any shrines, and remove them on the top left of your screen. So anytime you get like the Spell Echo shrine, some people not liking it.
Ghazzy with the Nightmare Pack, the Vigor Dischargers.
Vigor
Please,
Dischargers,
one of them
Ghazzy,
hit him.
trying to kite him off. Trying to get him away. Doesn't go down, though. And he gets a Moonstone, a unique Moonstone.
Time class.
Time class. Yeah. Really good, though, with the increased attack speed and cast speed on that thing. Would have helped really, really well in the whole race, just because everything has either attack or cast speed. So, unluckily for Ghazzy that he ends up picking it up a little too late.
Yeah, definitely a little bit too late. I think this is the sort of drop that we could only potentially anticipate from somebody like Dead and Doom, who never really gets those lucky drops except all the attack speed in the game. But Heshla is taking down the Izaro.
Is going to kill him right now with a 2:03 time. Probably not the best performance for him. And also, I mean, we've seen him before. Yeah, shaking his head. Definitely just not happy,
He
I
can't
don't think.
type out the things. He's like, you can't do it. He's shaking so much. This was definitely a very nerve-wracking experience for everybody here.
We've definitely seen Heshla do better, and I think he has like 6 or 7, probably 7 deaths or so. That's a large amount. I mean, that's a huge time delay. Added to that about 2:03, 2:02, whatever it was. I mean, that's gonna be like 7+ minutes.
Yeah, that took a while. I mean, Heshla was very close to Nugi. Nugi pulling through with the expert lab strats, and EngineeringEternity dropping low. You can do this, man. Come on.
So close, but he does keep his composure, doesn't slam his flasks. He does get low again, but again, like I said before, not fat-freeing, not slamming too many flasks at once, showing that skill level here.
I mean, I think with that little bit of meditation, EngineeringEternity can certainly pull through. and finish this off. I mean, all things considered, he's dealt with all the gargoyles. He's got 700 life. He shouldn't get one shot here as long as he's managing his potions, which so far he's been doing really amazing on. I think he's got this. Honestly, the arc might be problematic, but I think he's looking pretty good, at least for this first stage.
His first stage, he is making a lot of work of the Firestorm. Such a good AoE and single target skill, like we said before previously. He has a lot of life, 700 life. Here's one thing I want to bring to attention. I want to ask you, Rez. What do you describe that thing on his whiteboard on the bottom left? What is that?
What is that indeed?
I see a person with a hat, but what is there's something else there. I'm not sure what that is.
I'm
though.
not sure. Honestly, throughout the entirety of this event, Twitch has been really messing with me, and currently I'm looking at just a mess of 240p pixels. So if you don't know what that is, I certainly will never ever find out.
That's very true. I forgot you did have to lower that quality, unfortunately. Not being able to see all the glory here with these 4 racers. Everyone actually having a webcam this time around. Pretty rare, as the final race of the season 1 finale yesterday. No webcams on the last 4.
Yeah, but this is maybe the big difference. You know, no webcam. You can really focus on your gameplay. These players going more for the style of streaming, and I don't know. Apparently, you can also do really well in the race. Looking at Nugiyen and Heshla, who will certainly manage to finish this race. You can even do well in the race, despite the fact that you're using a webcam.
Looks like we are rolling. I don't know what it's going to be. Looks like Arc most likely.
Uh-oh.
As it's the only option. So Engineering have to switch over to Arc. And it looks like Heshla, though, taking a break here. Maybe cosplaying Morse Rage with that webcam.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's not something necessarily we can see outside of the webcam positioning on the outside, but on the inside, I'm sure he's doing a little bit of a Morse Rage cosplay. Most certainly. Well, you can see that Engineering Eternity fighting Izaro. Yeah, that was close. He's going to have to equip the arc very soon, and I don't think he's gonna have the DPS to keep those. To keep those statues down. He's gonna have to deal with the full wrath of the burning, lightning, and kobolds.
Can you see him there throwing down the Firestorm, saying, I don't need you anymore. Swapping an Arc really quickly, though. Very, very quick there. But the Arc doing pretty well on these spawns, but as we said, with a single target, just not really fun.
I mean, maybe not fun for him. From my perspective, this is quite fun. I think he's doing fine. You know, Arc very much known for its amazing targeting. Probably going to hit Izaro sometime during this fight. I think he's got this in the bag.
And Rise again showing his tastefulness with Schadenfreude here, wanting these guys to really just struggle. I don't know.
I just have so much faith in them. You know, everybody looks at this as this is impossible. What even is this? I just know that these are the best of the best players, and they will pull through at the very end. I have huge faith in Engineering Eternity. And if he doesn't manage to do it, it's not his fault. Just bad RNG.
Just bad RNG indeed, with that hashtag rigged on those bow skills for Nugi.
Oh,
Nugi getting like 3 or 4 bow skills in a row. Crazy.
Yeah, but you can really see if only Engineering Eternity has done what he's doing right now, you know, 30 minutes ago, he still could have had the number 2 spot. He's definitely adapted. He's learned from his mistakes, and he's playing significantly better than how he was in the previous fights. Well, let's see. I believe that last statue is already up, and he's down. Statue goes up, Engineering Eternity goes down. Well, it is what it is. I think it is done. I think he's trying to type something. Please, somebody tell him his webcam is in the way. Arc wasn't enough. I would say that was just bad RNG, all things considered.
Yeah, for some of these players, definitely not the route they would have wanted to take. Having Sunder so late in the game, Firestorm so late in the game. Nugi, though, being able to claw his way through and just kind of keeping his composure. I feel like for Nugi, just being super prepared, understanding all the skills, and knowing the correct support gems. Not really a correct, but maybe optimal support gems. Being able to swap them out, never having any problems throughout the whole time. Pretty much showing his expertise when it comes to racing.
Oh yeah, definitely so. I think only 2 of the players managed to finish this difficult format of racing, but huge props to every player because this was a genuinely difficult race. Oh, and look, EngineeringEternity is almost able to ascend. Ascend in town. I mean, that's technically a win, I think.
It does say it's end, so
It's pretty good. All right, I think. What do you think, Critters? Was this better? Because you did the commentary for the initial race. I participated in the original race. I would say that all things considered, this format has been much better.
I did enjoy this format. I think the mix of the extra skills really made it a lot more interesting, and even lowering it down to 7, a lot more rolls in there, considering the fact that we went all the way 2 hours. I think everyone finished the race last time in within the 2-hour time limit. So this time around, very interesting. Like I said, I just liked all the changes. I think they're really good. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it was just pretty painful for these players, to be honest.
Yeah, I think a good person to ask how painful it was is going to be Nugi, who we have a interview with in just a second for you guys. We're going to see what his sort of thought process was for this race. Nugi,
Hello.
Hey,
How
Nugi,
you feeling?
congrats, man.
Feeling all right. Pretty good.
pretty
I think
good.
you had what was your time? An hour 31?
I think 33 something. I forgot to click the thing.
I think it was about hour 31 something. Really, really impressive here. So I know you casted with me on the last wheel race, but we're just curious about how you feel about the changes in the new format.
I like it.
You like it?
Very Korean answer, Nugi.
No, I'm just thinking about. No, I like it. I think it's good that it's a little bit faster. I think that's definitely good. And being able to just toss the one you've done, right? So you can kind of like, okay, there's this one, and because there's these ones left, and even if you, let's say, all the melee ones disappeared, you could just throw away your melee weapons. So no, I like
Oh,
it.
yeah. Definitely, I can see already that by winning this race, you've adapted some of Dead and Doom's answering strategies for the interviews. But the only other player to finish was Heshla, and I don't know if you were still watching his attempts. Could you maybe have some sort of advice for him? What were some of the things that you were focusing on in preparation for Izaro?
Tabula will carry for damage, so get health and resist, and decoy.
Yeah, it's one
Right,
of those
that's
things.
decoy.
That's kind of like the way I go about it, because you can't, if you max your resist, especially fire, you can't die with good potions. It's almost impossible.
We noticed that you had a lot of health. Actually, I think more health than any of the other people, especially when you're walking in the lab, around 680 life at
and then I
least.
got the quiver in the lab.
Right, and then you also had a bismuth blast since Act 2, I believe, with adrenaline suffix, really, really strong there. And then you ended up pulling a seething flask at the end, which is insane. We saw that. We saw that Rise had one last event with that bubbling flask. Did so much work there. Did you feel that the seething flask really made you able to take a lot of risks in the lab?
Oh yeah, no, you can definitely take on the fight itself. You can just tank a little bit more, and if you ever get slammed, you can just immediately pop back up, and you're fine. There's like only one time where it's really necessary, but it just stabilizes you so much quicker, so it's really nice to have. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, because you didn't go for neither the shrine or the.
I forgot about those. I forgot
Right,
that
okay.
I hadn't checked up on the lab at all, so I was like, oh wait, I could have gotten that thing. That would probably have been easy.
Right, yeah. Well, Heshla did end up going for the Master Shrine, and at the end of the day, he still had less life with the Master Shrine than you did
Oh wow.
by default. Yeah, so that definitely something. So okay, we went through every single bow ability. What are your
Really?
thoughts on that? Because we could see from the players' reactions. Every time we heard there was a bow ability, there was a smirk on Heshla's face. There was a big, wide smile on Engineering's face. On Ghazzy's face, you could see a big, like it was like a, one of those mangas where you can see that big sweaty drop on his forehead because he didn't have a bow for like the entirety of this race. A lot of people suspected that the race was rigged a little bit with the bow skills. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I felt bows sucked for a while. I mean, I don't know. When I had the Infernal Blow, that was really fun.
Right. Yeah.
Then I got
you're
the
in-
bow skills, like, and then on Izaro, I was like, just like, give me a spell or something.
The Infernal Blow that you had set up with the support gems and the melee slash was doing so much damage. You would clear packs pretty much in 1 to 2 hits. Pretty insane. But when it comes to rolling a similar set of skills in a row, do you feel that it's a lot easier to have to switch? Because, I mean, you have all your support skills there. You just have to switch out the active skill. Is that one of those things where sometimes it's a relief if you end up getting like 2 bow skills in a row?
I didn't really feel a difference between whether or not it rolled bow or because I had like a good idea of my entire like gear setup. So I had 2 very good melee weapons, and I should have rolled my caster gear a little bit better, but I think spells just do better in general. Like they're fairly easy. Like, except if I got an arc, I think that would have been arc or ice nova. I guess those would have been really bad, but even then, I don't know. I wasn't too shaken up by the change, especially when it went from one style to another.
Yeah, we did notice that you're very, very prepared, at least seemingly for us. It seemed like you, no matter what was thrown at you, you seemed to be able to conquer it. Did you do any practicing for this race, or was this pretty much just, you just wing it?
No, I haven't played PoE for a couple of weeks. I took note what Rise was doing last time. Build Ellie, get anything that works with everything, right? So there's basically what I had in mind is, okay, so I'll go Onslaught, added Cold, added Lightning, Elemental Focus. Those 4, except for Fire Nova Mine, will work for everything except for Fire Nova Mine. And then just swap the last utility depending on whether or not, like, if you get Spark, you put Pierce. If you get a bow skill, you put LMP. If you find a melee without a good AoE, you put Melee Splash, and that was my idea.
So you did follow Rise's kind of idea or whatever, like you said, but you did opt to go for the Decoy Totem over the Flame Totem. Was there a reason for that?
It's just for Izaro. I wish I had, like, if I did this some more, I think I had enough transmutes to both have had a spell totem, and I think I could have had all the 3 support totems. So that would have given me spell totem, rage attack totem, and the ancestral protector. That would have been nice for more damage.
Just a real quick question. Did you buy the melee splash in Act 1, or when there was the swap to Infernal Blow, did you then go back to...
Oh, I went immediately when the Infernal Blow came up, I just went back.
Okay, because you were, that's kind of what we were thinking, that melee splash is really going to help out, but you were actually the only one to use it for a while, and you were the only player who was clearing really freaking well with that Infernal Blow. Like you mentioned, you switched to a bow, and it looked disappointing. It must have felt even worse.
No, it was lame. I just wanted to play Infernal Blow.
Right. Okay, well, Nugi, congratulations on the win. Thank you so much for participating in this event. Any final thoughts? Maybe some advice for the other players in the race?
Advice? I don't know. I felt it was really awesome to see that none of them gave up, and they even went in with the arc. That was great. So yeah, good showing from everyone. It was awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah, congrats, Niggy.
Thank you.
All right, and we have an interview with the 2nd place player, Heshla. What's up, Heshla? How are you feeling?
I feel like shit, dude.
Excuse me?
Like
How come?
40 minutes of dying in lab. Like, holy
Yeah,
fuck.
there was one of those things we noticed that you were doing fairly well. I think in the beginning we were noticing that you were pretty much neck and neck with Nugi. We thought you might be able to be, pretty good competition there, but a lot of deaths on phase 1 of lab. What were you thinking once you kind of died 2 times there?
I was just praying for good skill. Like somebody rigged it and put Sunder like the third last skill. Like they're just like let Heshla like suffer for 30 minutes and then we're gonna give him Sunder or something. I don't know.
Right. So, well, the other players had to deal with the same sort of problems here. So, do you think maybe you could have prepared for lab a little bit better? I mean, looking at the other players, you were the one who had the least HP. I mean, Ghazzy didn't even make it to lab, and I'm pretty sure he had more life than you.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I wasn't like my inventory was so cluttered up through the whole race, so I didn't pick up many items. So, like, if you look at my gear, all my gear is basically white, almost. It's like I had really bad gear. That's definitely something you could improve on.
Right. So, because you were playing Sunder, then you got a massive shrine, so you got a bunch more life. That was pretty cool. But then it switched to Firestorm. Did you ever have a thought of actually clicking away that massive shrine?
Like Doom wrote it to me as well, but I was just like, I want the extra HP. Like, I don't care if I take like, I don't know, 2 minutes more to kill Izaro. I just want to finish it, you know. So the extra HP definitely helps with that.
Okay, so
sorry, I was
yeah.
gonna say, for those who didn't know, Heshla was actually competing in the season 1 finals, and you made it pretty far. Did you make it? I don't remember. Were you in the? I don't think you made it quite to the finals, but you did do a lot.
I've choked in the dumb run.
Okay, so you ended up still racing a lot, putting a lot of time there. Did you feel that any of that kind of gave you some fatigue for today's race?
Nah, not really. Like I don't feel like it fatigues you when it's different days. It's more if it's the same day you race over and over.
So you want to say you were calm and collected throughout the entirety of this race?
Yeah, like I didn't really do any research or anything. I just went in because Havoc wrote to me like just before I went to bed yesterday if I want to participate. So I was just like, yeah, sure, I can race, but it's just like see, it's gonna be pretty fun, I think. So just with anyone.
So we had a recent rule change as to how you can use the utility abilities like Flame Dash and Flame Totem, but we still saw that you ended up going for the Flame Totem, while a lot of other players, despite muling, only went for the decoy. Do you think the Flame Totem was useful, or did it end up costing you time?
I'm not sure. Like in the end, like a lot of the, like when all the bad skills started happening, like Infernal Blow and all the bow skills, I felt like 60% of my damage or something came from my totem and flame dash.
Right.
That's very
So I
true.
think it did help me quite a bit.
Now, Flame Totem being a pretty strong thing there, you were saying that you thought that the race was going to be fun when you were offered to, a spot in this race. Now, having all things considered with the frustration and the deaths up, did you have fun?
Yeah, like overall it was pretty fun. It was just a little frustrating with the Izaro fight, but it's also partly my fault for not being good enough to upgrade my gear and stuff, I think. But like Act 1 and 2 was really fun, I think. And then, I don't know, in Act 3 I've just started feeling so weak. And it was like, it was still okay, and then we came to Izaro and I was just like, I don't know. Started choking a little bit.
Yeah, but would you say overall you kept you were thinking maybe you're gonna go far, maybe you're gonna prepare a little bit better, but it seemed like every time you died you just immediately went back in. So were you thinking the entire time that this was a mistake on your part, or did you have those thoughts of, well, maybe I should farm up a little bit more?
I was like, I don't know. I felt like every time I died in the phase 1, I was like, because like some of the times I killed all the gargoyles and shit, and I was like, if I can kill all the gargoyles, I should be able to finish the fight. And I knew there was a dark shrine afterwards, so if I got like a lucky decent shrine, as I did in my last one that I finished, then I knew I would be pretty alright.
Okay. Alright, Heshla. Thank you so much for participating in these. I think...
Yes, thanks for casting, and
Any last words? Maybe some words of advice for Engineering Eternity and the Ghazi?
I mean, I don't know if I can give any advice as my performance.
I mean, you were amongst Nugi. You were the only 2 players that managed to finish. So I think that's definitely something very, very impressive. But yeah, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, same.
Okay, and I do believe that we have an interview with Engineering Eternity
Uh-oh.
right here, right now. Hello, Engineering.
Hey,
How are
guys.
you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, Engineering, you did have quite the strong showing in the beginning. I believe you're the only person choosing not to mule anything, and I think you also got a decoy totem drop, which was probably a really, really good thing for you. But that first log out to Merveil really setting you behind. What were you thinking when that happened?
I said like 2 instances before I went in there, I said I need to go and get another mana flask. And then I got into Merveil and I looked at my bar and I had a small mana pot and no mana regen. And I was like, oh, I'll just teleport out once I run out. And I looked at my inventory. I didn't have a portal scroll. So I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll just log out.
Yeah, that was a really quick. That was really quick thinking. Like you just gotta. It was instant for us.
Yeah,
It's
it
like you
was-
were ready to log out.
Yeah.
Well, how are you? So did you know that? Did you plan? Maybe did you know that muling the decoy totem is a possibility, and you just opted not to do it, or what was your
Yeah, I did-
strategy going into this?
Havoc asked me about this on Wednesday, I think, and then I didn't have any time to think about a build, and I was just thinking, all right, well, the best thing I can do is, since I don't know what skill I'll be using or what I should scale it, I'll just do a bunch of flat added elemental damage to whatever I'm doing. So I said, oh, I'll just go for whatever's generic damage. So I picked the Shadow, and the Shadow has a pretty good amount of skill selections, support gem-wise, but doesn't have good support totems, I realized later. So I was like, oh, and I didn't really plan on a totem because I was just considering the actual skills I'd be using, and getting that drop was pretty lucky, even though I couldn't use it all that well, or I didn't use it all that well.
All things considered, would you do you think? Well, you haven't had the experience of not playing without a decoy totem, but do you think the decoy totem ended up being worth it? Would you sacrifice those 4+ minutes to get it, and if you were to participate in a future event like this?
It could be useful, because the problem is I'm so used to using like offensive totems, so I kept placing it near me to do like attacks with me, and that was not a good idea because it just pulled the monsters directly to me. So yeah, if you use it right, yes, it can be very useful, especially on Izaro, because he can hold them off for like 3 or 4 hits most of the time, and that's really nice.
Yeah, decoy totem is definitely something that people have been utilizing very well in this race. We did notice that you went into the lab, went to phase 1, died, and then decided to back out, go to docks, I believe, to gain a level, went back in, died again, unfortunately, and then you kind of moved, you got up from your chair and you left. Was that just a bathroom break? Were you trying to like get a breath of fresh air? What was going on there?
I had a pee for like 30 minutes, and I was like, there's no way I'm doing this with Frost Nova, and so I was like, I'm just gonna go take a break till the next skill gem rolls over. That was the strat there.
That's what we figured. We just wanted, we weren't sure. Everyone was trying to guess, I believe, in chat. So
yeah, I wouldn't rage quit. It was a lot of fun doing this, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Was it a lot of fun? What primarily do you level with? Bows, melee? Are you primarily a caster when leveling?
Generally I like to level any builds I make with what I plan to use. I don't usually do swap overs, but I never really do bow builds, and I'm pretty heavy on the melee attack based stuff, but spells are another thing that I like to do. So I was pretty well versed with the melee and spells, but the bows, I was like, oh, I don't even have a quiver. I didn't even have a bow. I was like, ah, Jesus Christ, I need to get these things. So it was a mess when we get the first bow skills, like Rain of Arrows, and I had to fight Oak when I just had a pure elemental skill before, and I was like, no. So
Would you say, all things considered, it was definitely was it confusing for you every time the skills would swap over? Were you rather prepared, or did it keep you on your toes the whole time?
Kept me on my toes the whole time. I was talking to Ghazzy actually before this, and I didn't know what he thought about it, but I didn't know if it would make sense to have like a mini queue of what could be coming up next or something like that, or so you get an idea of what you're going into. But it kind of gives a lot of fun with just not knowing until like right before, and then you got to do that quick swap.
Okay. Well, too bad you didn't finish. are you looking to participate in the future race like this? You did say that it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like I said, I think the last time I raced, anytime I get time to, like actually get time on the weekends, I put my name in for it. It's been pretty busy the
Awesome.
past month, but yep.
Awesome, man. All right. Thank you so much for participating. Hope to see you in the future events as mentioned previously. And yeah, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, I think we have one more interview left. Ghazzy. Want to be pulling
Hello.
Ghazzy, and how's it going, Ghazzy?
Oh, I almost had it, so it's fucking great.
So Ghazzy, we did notice, quite a bit of struggling there throughout the whole race, unfortunately. Starting off with that Tabula, not having it in your inventory ready, the mule, and then I believe dying on ledge really early on. And then you had the problem with the bow and the dex, going behind, going back and forth, trying to go to Fetid Pool, thinking about getting that refund point. What was going through your mind at that time?
Keeping things positive. That's the only thing that was going in my mind at that point.
Right. So
Yeah.
would you say that it took you by surprise, the swaps overall? Were you kind of hoping that there's not going to be any bow skills, or did you think that even if you get a bow skill, you're just going to buy a bow and you're just going to be fine?
No, well, I started picking up some stuff and was heading towards the dexterity. I was feeling that if a bow skill comes up now, I'm going to be screwed over and get a Jade Amulet, which the shops didn't have, and then I couldn't afford it. But I think that, prior to this race, I was actually supposed to commentate with one of you guys, I guess. But then I was told to race in it. So my schedule was pretty tight, which is why I didn't want to race in the first place. So I got 1.5 hours before the race to practice. So I actually took the decision to talk to the master of all races to give me their tips. So of course I went to Project PT.
What?
He gave me some
Talk
tips.
to me.
Sorry?
You didn't talk to me. What?
No, I talked to Project PT.
Oh, right.
You think it's better?
No, sorry, I forgot. I forgot about the Master and Lord.
Of course. I mean, it's okay since he's not streaming anymore. So he gave me some tips, and I worked from there. And he didn't mention anything about the attributes, so I think he was referring to me supposed to wear an Astromentus or something. But it worked from there.
The Astromentus would have definitely been a good pick. I mean, we've seen a lot of interesting, unique drops, but for you, I don't know. You didn't really get much to work with, honestly, from our perspective here. Were there moments where you actually felt like you were in a pretty good spot, or was it just a struggle throughout the entirety of the race?
Well, since the Tabula start, I felt behind, and then after Hillock, it was just a downward spiral.
Right.
So
Okay.
talking about that, I mean, not to really harp on all the mistakes. I mean, there were a lot of them from all the racers, not just you, obviously, but there were some pretty big ones. Which one? You were saying Hillock was a big downward spiral. What was what kind of nail in the coffin for you? What was the straw that broke the camel's back that really, for you, were just saying like, I'm out of this?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm out of this because I participated in the race, so of course we're going to keep going. But the nail in the coffin is definitely when the dexterity lack came, and I had to get refund points. Couldn't afford anything, so it was auto attacking the Dweller in the Deep, and then auto attacking Fetid Pool.
Yeah, that was really rough to watch from our end. It's one of those things where we didn't know what you're doing at first, and we didn't know, exactly how to kind of, recover from that. You did eventually opt in to pick the ranger up to mule that bow over, but by the time you had done that, unfortunately, there was another roll on the next skill.
Yeah, but then again, I actually finally had a bow to use. Then Krating showed up, and I didn't have enough damage, so that's another level of farming. Then I got a better bow.
Very,
The
very true.
Kraten fight, that was pretty
Oh
epic.
man, the fight of the century. That was almost a 10-minute fight or so. That must have been really rough.
Yeah.
sorry.
From all the
Even,
excitement, you didn't pick up the amulet too.
That's
I mean, I
true.
think that if it didn't feel dead before that fight, when I finished it, I was so done. I was like, okay, this is over. There's no way in hell I'm even going to enter the labyrinth before the time hits. And then I started, fuck this, go out. And then I realized, shit, did I pick up the amulet?
So after all these, after this race and kind of learning from your mistakes, so to speak, I know you said you didn't want to race, you wanted the cast, but you were kind of thrown into the mix. If you were to have to do it again, do you think you would have, from what you learned, do you think you'd have a better time at this?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't go Cyan. I think that the biggest problem was preparation. The 1.5 hour I had I spent doing the lab because I assumed I was going to go in there, but preparing for it, knowing which weapons I need for Sunder, for example, I can't use a sword, which was also a problem I ran into. But the stats requirements and also which gems to buy. Because the reason I took Cyan was to get all 3 added: the fire, lightning, and cold. But I was struggling big time with the stats.
Yeah, that's very true. You were the only one to pick Scion, which was very interesting out of the other racers. And we saw last race, I believe, everyone going Shadow. So you were the only one out of 8, I guess, in the wheel race to go Scion. So, but you're saying that I should have probably went a different class.
Yeah, the other class I was leaning towards was Shadow, since you get a lot of stats there around the tree, and also get physical plus elemental damage nearby if you need it.
So after doing this race, would you consider doing another one like this? And are there any changes you'd like to see to the wheel race?
No, I think that this was really good, actually. I like the format and everything. I'd definitely be up for it again, but with time to practice.
All right. Well, we'll hope to see you in the next race soon. Thank you so much for participating. And even though you didn't finish the lab, you still had a really great show for us. So thank you.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All right, Ghazzy, thank you so much. And that is that for this event. We have another one coming up, so don't go anywhere, guys. One that actually I'm participating in. It will be a punishment wheel famine race in which you can't use potions and rotate skills. And yeah, it's going to be pretty crazy.
This is going to be insane. This is probably the one event I think everyone is waiting for. We did have the wheel race before. This is the second showing of the wheel race, but this one's going to have not a wheel race of skills, but of punishments, like you said, and there's no health pots being used. This is going to be pretty crazy, as well as the hardcore factor. Once you're dead, you're out. I don't know. How long do you think this race is going to last?
It depends on the player. I think considering I'm participating in it, for me personally, it's probably not going to last that long. The other players, on the other hand, I think they're going to take it all the way.
And who are the participants in this next race? I know Ziz was going to participate, but I heard that I asked him earlier and he said he was sick and he was trying to sleep off a sickness from TwitchCon. So I don't think he's going to be in this one, unfortunately. But Dead and Doom making another appearance from the final race that he won yesterday. So I'm sure everyone's excited for that. And you said yourself, you're going to be participating. So good luck to you, and also familiar faces, Sir Crushington and the Uber Elite. This is going to be quite the race. As we said, one of those things where these are all kind of tried and true racers. Dead and Doom being that explosive character that I always said, where, he either does really well or sometimes ends up tilting early on. So I think it's going to be a tough one.
Oh, yeah, definitely so. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you guys watching. The next race is starting in about 7 minutes from now, so be sure to stick around and see you guys soon.
Thank you guys so much.